Our show is made possible by the support of our Patreon members. So if you like what we're doing here, please consider becoming one. A portion of the proceeds goes to mental health and sexual assault charities. Thanks.
Are the lights too much for you in your eye?
Nah, they're okay. Whenever I do photo shoots, like I always run into this, and these are not that bad.
So let's just go back on that because I think that's pretty wild. So what happened that made you fuck up your eye?
Well, I fucked up my eye multiple times, but I think the one you're referring to is the reason I wear my special glasses. And that's because during one of my bare-knuckle boxing matches, I broke my orbital. And when the orbital breaks, everything swells up and pinches the nerve inside the eye. So the pupil on this side doesn't contract or dilate anymore. It's stuck in a very open position, not fully open like David Bowie, but pretty open. And so I get more light than I would care into this eye. But since I'm legally blind in this eye and this is my good eye, like I don't like to wear regular shades because then I feel like I'm losing too much visibility in my good eye.
You're legally blind just because of that injury?
No, I had a really bad stigmatism when I was born. So my vision was always really bad, but I did get a detached retina from fighting about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And that added to the shittiness of it.
So detached retina, the pinched orbital, so there's a lot compounding onto that.
Yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit like right here in this eye zone alone.
And Bowie, it made him lose pigment in his eye?
No, it didn't make him lose pigment. He had 2 blue eyes, but his pupil's so big that one of them looks brown from far away. So people think he has 2 different colored eyes. It's his pupil so big.
Could you wear a contact that...
I don't know, man. I've had problems with contacts. Like, I had shitty vision even before I had that because of the stigmatism, and they never found a contact that would sit flat on my fucking eyeball. Yeah. So I tried it. I went to this guy. He tried so fucking hard. We were going every day to try new contacts, and they would always slip off because my eye's too oblong, I think. Yeah. And one time he got one to stick, and it stuck so good that he couldn't get it off. And I went in there, and I'm like, dude, this one fucking hurts. And he had to literally pop it off, and there was a ridge where it had cut into the eye.
What are some of the worst injuries you've gotten over the years?
Oh fuck, I've broken almost, not every single bone, but I've broken a lot of fucking bones, and I am way too tough for my own good. One time I broke my leg and I was walking on it for 3 days, and it was because my coach was like, don't be a pussy, Diego, there's no way you fucking broke at kickboxing. And now we see it every day, it happens all the time. But I over-rotated and my calf hit the knee instead of the shin, and I broke the backbone, I think the tibia and the fibia, it's the smaller one of the two, and it's the backbone, so I could still stabilize on the front bone. And I was still walking on it and just kept getting more and more swollen. I'm like, I'm being a pussy, And then I was somebody's like, you should go to the fucking doctor. And then I just went to the ER and they're like, oh yeah, it's fucking broken. It's clearly broken.
I saw one on your Instagram where you had 2 fucking spikes coming out of your thumb, 2 metal spikes.
Yeah, that's an interesting story too. So I broke my thumb. I didn't land one flush and it landed right here on this bone, and you had a fucked up fight. I had so many stitches in my head, and the fight was in Mexico. So usually you wait about 5 to 7 days, and then you go to the doctor, get them removed, all the stitches. So that was in Mexico. I came to my doctor here in the United States and takes all the fucking stitches out. I had horrible lacerations everywhere. And then she's like, is your hand okay? And it was literally this fucking big. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And then she's like, it doesn't look fine. And I'm like, yeah, look, I can move it. And I could the thumb was moving. And she was like, dude, she's like, let's get you an x-ray. And I'm like, fuck, whatever. So she convinced me to get the x-ray. And she pulls up the picture and she's like, yeah, look, it's broken into 2 pieces and in 3 different places. And I'm like, oh, is that bad? She's like, yeah, you need surgery. And I'm like, fuck, I don't want surgery, I hate surgery, and I always try to fix things naturally if I can. And she wanted to put 2 screws in there, but I didn't want permanent screws in there, So I told her, what else can we do? And she says, I could put these 2 rods, and then once the healing's done, we'll pull the fucking rods out.
Oof. Did it hurt when they pulled them out?
It was nowhere close to as bad as you would think. Yeah. They came out pretty easy. I was trying to record them, but she was like, no. That was a different doctor. That was a surgeon. I got in a fight with the surgeon, like right before the actual surgery too.
What?
Because I do stupid shit, but I try to like take extremely good care of my body. So there's certain drugs that I don't want to fuck up my liver, you know?
Yeah.
And basically, I know that they put acetaminophen in fucking Percocets so junkies won't fucking OD on them because it'll shut your fucking liver down. So I asked her for like the ones with no acetaminophen, and she goes, "No, that's what fucking junkies ask." This is like right before the surgery, mind you, and it's not my doctor, this is the surgeon. Yeah. She goes, "No, that's what fucking junkies ask for. I'm not giving you that shit." And I go, "I'm a fucking athlete. I'm not a fucking junkie." And I'm like, I'm telling you, I don't want to fuck up my fucking liver. And first of all, I was like, I don't even need fucking painkillers. I'm probably not going to take them. She's like, "You're going to need them, trust me." So I was like, well, if you're going to fucking give them to me, give me the fucking good ones because I won't take them if they have fucking Tylenol in them, you know? So she's like, fine. And she fucking writes me a prescription because this is right before they put you under. And when you're asleep, they can't, you know, give you the prescription and the advice and all the medical shit. So my wife was like, shut the fuck up. You're like pissing off the fucking, the surgeon right before the surgery. She writes me the fucking prescription. Boom, I get the surgery. I fucking wake up. I recover for a few days. This is how stubborn I am. I legit didn't take any of the fucking pills on purpose. And when I had my first checkup, I came into the office and I go, "See, I told you." And I fucking poured them out. I'm like, "Told them." And she's like, "Yeah, that's fucking great. You're really fucking cool." And then I'm like, "Well," and I was like, "Well, I'm going to take these back though." I might need them for later. You know, like, yeah.
Is there a personality type to be a fighter? Like you're stubborn, like you need to prove someone wrong if they like slight you in some way?
No, it's I know all types of fighters. Like all the gambits, you know, like I know fucking IT guys that also dabble in the dark martial arts. Yeah. And I know,
now it's getting so popular.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's funny. That's the great thing about life. It takes all types and it's all kinds of people.
You're like a born fighter.
I have like a mentality that's almost unhealthy, but like makes for an exciting fighder. Yeah. If I could explain it that way. I feel
like even if you didn't have all the tattoos, people would be like, "I do not want to get in a fight with that guy."
I never
like I don't know. You're very nice and like you're upbeat and positive, but like maybe it's just that you're a stocky guy, but like you can tell that this guy knows how to fight.
I was always skinny, and then but like once I started jiu-jitsu, like my ears got super fucked up right away. So sometimes that's a giveaway to some people. Yeah, but I try to be like disarming to people with how charming I am. Like I like to challenge people's expectations. Yeah. Yeah.
What made you decide to be a fighter?
Okay, so I was already like on a downward spiral my whole life, and I mean, we can go fucking deep into it, but I'll give you like the more shorter version.
I saw you say somewhere that you had kind of a, what was the word? Traumatic, tumultuous?
I like tumultuous.
Yeah, that was what you said.
Tumultuous, I like that. So yeah, I have a tumultuous background. I was stuck in a life of crime for a while. And then when I started pulling myself out of that, I was still very self-destructive. I was like, okay, well, look, I got a job, I'm getting it together. But I was like into riding motorcycles. And I was doing like insane shit like wheelies and fucking stoppies and endos, like freeway tricks all the fucking time. Anytime I would show up late, somebody's like, Diego's dead. You know, like, cause they're just expecting me to be dead. I was racing them. At the time I was getting serious with my wife. We were trying to settle down. And she's like, you need to, oof, I'm so bad with ages. between 22, 24. Yeah. But she was like, if you want to settle down, we have to like find your hobby that's less expensive. And she was like, oh, you wrestled in high school. Like, why don't you get into that again? You know, it's like always has to be something competitive.
Were you a fighter by this point? Were you like
a
barroom fighter?
No. This is, I'll get into some shit if I have to, but I don't start fights, you know? So I wouldn't say I was a fighter. Everything I knew about fighting was from high school wrestling. I would just like double leg take somebody down and then get up and step on their head real quick. And that was like most of my fights. Like that got me through all my adult life winning fights.
The thing is when I try to do jiu-jitsu, like I would just only like once I get them, I would just put them in a half Nelson and try to pin them. But it's, even though that's not what you're supposed to do, it's like I don't even know what to do here. So like,
yeah, you just gotta learn some moves, and then it comes natural.
Yeah.
But so then the way that I transitioned from that was that she was trying to get me to at least calm down on the motor. She was like, "You're gonna fucking kill yourself in a wreck, in a motorcycle wreck." So
when you do those like wheelies and stuff, like, did you wipe? You have to wiped out a couple times.
I've eaten shit so many times. Like I worked at a motorcycle shop and I would buy the salvage bikes back from the insurance companies and I just fucking wreck them all the time. Like at some point I had like 3 or 4 bikes and no car. Like I would just destroy bikes like on a regular basis. It's like whatever I do, that's the problem. I take it to the fucking extreme.
Yeah, that's why. The motorcycles are scary. Like you've probably known people that have died.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And I mean, I've crashed on the streets. I've crashed at the racetrack.
Some of like, the worst, scariest wrecks that you got in?
Fuck, all of them, dude. Like all of them. Every time, like, boom, as soon as I fly off, I'm like, oh shit, this is how I die. And then I get up and I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't die. I didn't die again.
Going how fast?
Like, oh shit. I mean, it's always like on the racetrack at Willow Springs, they have a turn. I think it's called the fastest track in the West or some shit. But I forget if it's turn 6 or turn 8. It's so sweeping that on almost any motorcycle in the world, you can hit it at 6th gear, completely pinned open and fully leaned over. It's like, that's how fast the turn is. And I was like, as fast as I could go on my motorcycle, fully leaned over, and it was still early in the morning. What happens is the tires have to heat up. I guess they hadn't heated up enough, and it started to slide. So the rear end slides, and then all of a sudden it catches traction. It's called a high side. A low side is like you're so leaned over, you fall that way, and you hit the low side. I'm sliding, the tire catches, it goes, wah, like that, and throws me, like launches me off the bike. Both my feet came down, hit first, my heels. Boom, and I'm wearing all leather gear because I'm at a professional racetrack doing a track day and stuff. So boom, my heels hit first, the rest of my body. I literally imagined that when they took my shoes off, like chunks of foot were just gonna fall out.
Ugh.
That's exactly what it felt like. Like I was like, holy shit, and I was just like laying there in pain.
So what, you just felt your feet just like smashed, like you just felt them?
Yeah, I just felt them hit first, and they just like, it felt like they exploded inside the boots. And then the fucking ambulance comes, they take the boots off, they're in one piece. And surprisingly enough, the only injury I had was that I tore the muscle that's attached to the bone that open, like the Suzanne thigh master muscle. Yeah. It says when the bike switched direction so quickly, it threw my leg open. So it tore that little muscle a little bit off the bone. So I literally like could not even walk. And then my boss that owned the motorcycle shop had gone up to help me. And he got there. I was in the hotel room like icing my fucking crotch and shit because it was all swollen. And he put the bike back together. Like he came up there all the way, it's in Lancaster, I forget, but it's from San Diego. He drove all the way up, and I was like, I didn't want to disappoint him. So I basically had them, like he put the bike back together. I had somebody pick me up and put me on the motorcycle, and I still raced because that happened in practice the day before the race. And that race was like probably like the best I ever finished, which I never podiumed at that track, but I got like 4th or 5th at that race.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's a popular thing, right? You weren't like doing it on the streets.
I would do stupid shit on the streets, but back then I was like trying to go to the racetrack.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So wait, what would you do on the streets? Would you pop wheelies on the streets?
Wheelies and shit and dumb shit, like really crazy shit.
I always wondered like how you do your first wheelie, because like you have to like kind of, it's a leap of faith, you know what I mean? Kind of.
It's funny though because my first wheelie was very much by accident. And what happened was that I was at a 4-way stop sign and I had just learned to ride, like I had very green. And I'm at the stop sign and it's a 4-way and this like big trucker pulls up on this side, right? And I look at him and for some reason he goes like this. And in my brain I thought, oh shit, somebody's gonna rear end me or something. So I just fucking let go. I just dropped the fucking clutch and the wheel came up and it was like, oh shit. And like I probably like almost went like, 12 o'clock, that's what they call it. And if you go past, you usually fucking eat shit. And so like I probably hit like almost 12 o'clock. And then you panic, so you let go of the gas, so then the front end crashes down, and then the forks compress, and they throw you back up, And it makes you hit the gas, and I think I did like 3 wheelies in a row. It was like, and you stop and, oh shit, that was exciting, you know? And then it was like, okay, how do you do this? And then it's like, oh shit, and then pretty soon you're like riding and you're like, hit a balance point, and you're like, oh shit, this is how you do it.
Balance point.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah, so like you can hit a sweet spot where the bike feels balanced, and then you're just like gliding on the throttle. And then if you start going back too far, you can push the rear brake. Whoa, shit, to like.
You get it up.
You 2 ways. If depending how much.
Say to get it up.
Yeah, so depending on how much power the bike has, you can just like open the throttle violent enough that it starts to lift it. Which is, I mean, every way you could actually flip it, you know, doing that, but it's about skill. Or you can pull in the clutch and like let the revs go up a little bit, and then you drop the clutch, and then you can pop the wheelie.
Okay.
So there's a couple ways of doing it. And so if you can kind of bounce on the forks a little bit to get that initial bounce, but it depends how much power the bike has.
Sometimes I'm going to ask you to say something just because they're not going to have my questions in the video.
Yeah,
so
no
just
problem.
Like, if you could say like, so there's a couple ways you could do a wheelie.
So there's a couple ways you could do a wheelie, basically.
Perfect.
And that's you can either rev, like if the bike has enough power, you could just accelerate it so quick that it starts to pick up. You know, the front end gets light. Or you could also like pull in the clutch and you rev it up, and as you dump the clutch, you pop a wheelie.
So when it starts to pick up, do you use your arms?
You don't really have to. Like the bike's so powerful. Motorcycles are so powerful compared to cars. That's why they're so dangerous, you know? So usually you pop the wheelie. If it was like a really small bike, you might have to bounce the forks a little so they're going down, and then when they expand and you pull it, it'll help you pop up, you know? But usually you don't have to. Most bikes, you can just crank it up.
So how old were you when you got into that?
When I got into that, I was about 22, 24.
And you had already been like living a life of crime, as you said?
Yeah, this is when I was an undocumented citizen.
Really?
So I was smuggled into the country. So after I got kicked out of my house as a teenager for doing drugs and drinking all the time, the only way I could see of supporting myself was crime. So then I went through a criminal phase, got arrested.
Just like drug dealing and stuff like that?
Selling drugs, small time like armed robbery, you know, like breaking into stuff. We would always like break into schools and steal the VCRs.
Really?
This is the time of VCRs.
So those were
TVs.
good to resell?
Yeah, we'd sell them for like $20, which ain't shit. But you go to you can go to school and take like 8 VCRs in one night, you know? Yeah.
What was like the most nerve-wracking robbery?
Ah, shit! I robbed the taco shop.
Okay.
I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that shit, but basically the reason it was so nerve-wracking was because I was on acid, and like I was hanging out with like complete degenerates, and I was like a minor, and we always had guns.
How old were you?
At this time, I was like maybe 14 or 15.
Yikes.
Maybe 15.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't think I was 16 yet at that time. And I was hanging out with just a fucking house full of fucking degenerates, mostly like real gang members and shit. Like, and there was guns at all the time. And everybody was like always drinking, always doing drugs. But I was like the only one that was usually always doing acid and shit like that. So like everybody's asleep and crashed out. It's like 4 a.m. I'm like just fucking wide awake. And I don't know why. I was just like, I gotta do something. I'm just like, I'm gonna go rob a fucking taco shop. And I fucking like looked and like I couldn't find anybody's gun and shit. So I just put like a fucking hoodie on and I just walked in there like straight up like this.
By yourself? I thought you were
Yeah.
yeah.
No, dude, I just ran across the street too. Like literally like across from my apartment complex. And I just like literally like face covered with a fucking hoodie. And I just walk in, I'm like, hey, give me all your money. And they gave me like 40 or 60 bucks. And I fucking ran back to the apartment. And I'm fucking like just jumping through and fucking quiet. And one of my roommates had to work at UPS. And he gets up at like 4 a.m, I think. You know, like a lot of people I knew used to sort boxes for UPS on the belt line.
Yeah.
And he walks downstairs as the police officers coming with the dog because they followed my scent from the taco shop to the apartment. And as I'm walking down the stair, as he's walking down the stairs, the dog barks at him. So they fucking grab him and they fucking put him in the squad car and question him for like, he said at least an hour. So but I didn't find none of this shit out. Like I could hear him outside, but I didn't know what was really happening until he got home from work. And then everybody's like, well, guess why you were fucking Diego? And I was like, oh, they're like gonna fucking murder me and shit. And it was like, he didn't even know I had done it, so he couldn't even snitch me out, you know? Like, but he's been a fucking criminal, so like he wasn't gonna say anything anyways. So they just fucking questioned him for a while, but they had to let him go. They didn't have any fucking proof. I'm just lucky they didn't fucking like have enough permission to somehow enter the house or something. But after he followed the, you know, he covered my scent with his scent, the dog couldn't regain it and go back up to the apartment.
Yeah. Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Anything else like that?
Oh, well, I mean, it led to more shit.
What about that just the whole time in your life? Like,
well, just even that week alone, like I was doing acid later that week, and I see somebody like choking a bitch out on a fucking, like a car hood. And I go, fuck guys, hey, we're in the second story. And the whole time I've been on acid, I'm just like staring out the window with binoculars. And I'm like, I run out, holy shit, dude, this guy's fucking killing a bitch outside. And I'm like, what's going on? So I fucking run. And then they look and nobody's there and shit, you know? And then I'm like, oh, I swear they were just here. And then they all fucking go away. And then next thing I know, I see the guy from 7-Eleven with the cops. And it looks like he's pointing up to the window. And the 7-Eleven is right across the street from the taco shop that I robbed. So I think, oh shit, that dude saw me come into the house recently and reported me to the cops. So I go in there again. I go, guys, now the cops are here and I think they're here to get me. I'm on acid. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I said, look, you guys hold them at the door. I'm gonna jump out the window, roll off a car, and then just make a run for it. And then they're like, all right, whatever. And so like a few minutes happen, nothing happens. And then my best friend's like, hey man, I'm gonna go drop off my girlfriend. Do you want to come with me? And like, obviously the cops are not here. And I'm like, sure, I guess, you know. And then I walk downstairs and I still have the binoculars. And as we're getting into his car, the cops are arresting the dude that was like choking the chick out on the hood of the car. And I was like, I told you guys. And then we like just proceeded to drive inside the passenger seat with the binoculars the whole time on acid, just like staring into the future.
So you were living in this house with how many people?
It was an apartment. It was, let me see. It was at least 3 different adults and my best friend who was barely not a minor anymore.
Can you just say like when I was like 14 to, or however old you were? Like,
when I was about 15 years old, I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 adults and my teenage best friend who, one of the adults was his brother, but they were like all gang members and just basically.
How did you get in with that crowd?
Through my best friend. Yeah, and my best friend introduced me to marijuana, I guess. I started drinking at a very early age. Like I started drinking when I was like less than 10, you know? But I had never really smoked weed, or like I'd been around weed, but like had never really had a chance. And he was like, hey, come over to my house and we'll try it. So like I came over to his house and we tried it and it was good. And then I was like, yeah, this is my best friend now. Like we just hang out and smoke weed. And his mom, I don't know if she was a cop at that time. I knew she used to be a police officer, but she was never home. And like his mom was literally never home. And we were just at his house smoking weed all the time. And I remember one time I invited him to my house and we got into an argument. We ran out of weed and I just wanted to stay in and he wanted to go get more weed. And we got into like an argument and I think he like tackled a friend of mine and threw him on the table. And like the kid hit his head and was like unconscious for a little bit. And then like he pulled out a knife and like just grazed me with it. And I was just like, okay, we're gonna go with you to get the weed. Let's go, calm down. And then I was just like, I'm never hanging out with this guy ever again. And then like after that, we were just like inseparable for like the next 10 years.
Where were your parents?
Most of the time my mom was home, but I was like out of the house.
Right.
My mom really, I don't think she finished past elementary school. So she didn't have good parents in her life. So she didn't have this mentality that's like, oh, this is how things work. You go to school and you do good, you know? So it was just like the blind leading the blind. Like if I didn't want to go to school, I just wouldn't go to school most of the time.
Yeah. And your dad was in the picture?
No, my dad was in Mexico. He was he's from Spain, and he started his own factory in Mexico. He moved there, he made a lot of money, just completely separate life, you know, really great guy. I just never spent a lot of time with him.
And were you born in Mexico?
Yeah, I was born in Mexico and smuggled into the United States.
How did they do that?
I got smuggled in the back of a pickup truck. I had like a border crossing card, but you weren't even, when I was a baby, but you weren't even supposed to stay in the country for that long. But I remember my mom said we were going to Disneyland, and then like this was the 80s, so you could sleep in the back of a pickup truck. And then you just fucking got picked up at night. I'm like covered with blankets, and then she's like, what, like, you know, this is like, be quiet. And I'm like half asleep, right? And then I wake up in a new house, and she's like, this is your new house, and this is your new dad. And then we never went to Disneyland.
So you've always been kind of a thrill seeker. That's the main reason why your upbringing was so tumultuous, as you say?
Yeah, I hate the word adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
But I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
But also it's like, I think we'll never know, is it nurture versus nature? Is it the way I was raised, or was I always like that? Because it started at such an early age. I was fucking always doing fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other like robberies, criminal mishaps from that era?
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of shit, you know, like drug deals gone bad and just a lot of crazy shit.
Any serious ones that you could talk about? Drug deals gone bad?
Let me see. I think it's probably been long enough that it wouldn't matter. But my best friend and his brother were like asking around to buy some weed. And then this kid who was like basically like a nerd, but like a stoner nerd, so probably looked cooler than other nerds, but was like, hey guys, I know where to get some weed. You know, and it was like, yeah, I got like 60 pounds. Like this was before like the really chronic revolution where everybody was smoking dope weed, you know, and everybody was mostly smoking Mexican weed and shit like that. And he's like, yeah, I know where we can get this weed really cheap, you know. And it's, I guess it was a friend of his who was probably connected to somebody important, you know. And they, I guess, trusted him or knew him well enough that they were like, yeah, here, have 60 pounds of marijuana. And so he was talking to my friends who were obviously like really fucking up to no good motherfuckers. And they basically just like slapped them around and were like, yeah, we're gonna take it. You know, like, what are you gonna do? So they fucking like took the weed and shit. And then they were like, just selling it, but like almost giving it away. You're just making money, and everybody fucking word spreading and shit. And then that guy's like, hey guys, I really need that money because the person that owns the weed is not happy. And it was like some badass motherfuckers, I guess. And at some point they found out like where I was living. They were coming to my house in trench coats and shit. And I never answered the door for like months and months. And I had to tell my mom because I'm like, hey, these guys might shoot you, you know, if you answer the door. And so luckily, like I moved in. Throughout the years, I guess I came in and out of my mom's house for a while, you know, but she had kicked me out a few times. But that time I was like, I'm going to move out because like this is fucking bad. And I think my mom ended up moving too to a different apartment. She's like, fuck, like we're just going to relocate, you know?
How did that resolve?
Just
for this. Yeah, how did that resolve?
Time just passed and we just stayed under the radar.
60 pounds of weed?
Yeah.
That's a lot to just forget about.
I don't think they forgot about it. We just fucking disappeared, you know, like cockroaches when you turn the lights on, just scatter. Like we all went in different directions and shit, you know, and you just like lay fucking low. But it's funny because that nerd had some other nerd friends that thought they were really fucking cool. And by this time, I can't remember if I had already gotten kicked out of high school.
I'm surprised the nerd didn't get killed. You don't know if he's alive.
I don't fucking know, man. We didn't have Instagram back then to keep track of people and shit, you know? I've never seen the guy again. I don't know. He said he was really close friends with the dude, you know, that owned it. I don't know what happened. So I was already either barely going to school or at this point I had gotten kicked out. I have a terrible memory. But one of those fucking stoner nerds, this is Bonita Vista, which is like a really nice neighborhood in San Diego, where my mom had relocated us there because thought I would get into less trouble, which actually probably backfired. And because rich kids only have more money for more drugs and shit. And so this kid was like such a fucking tool, but his dad had bought him like a vintage 69 Camaro. And it was fucking just beautiful, immaculate. And we were at Taco Bell. And it's right across from the high school where like most of the cool kids would hang out. They would just like ditch and go right across the street and not give a fuck. And I'm talking to somebody and I'm telling them this story like, yeah, these motherfuckers are talking shit about my friends because we stole all that weed and shit. And he goes, who, this fucking guy? He's like, you're gonna let him talk shit? I was like, well, I mean, he was like surrounded by like 6 or 8 people. And he goes, this guy's a fucking tool, man. Like, don't let him talk shit. And I go, nah, you're right. And he goes, if you go fucking beat his ass right now, he goes, I'll give you like a fucking, he was a drug dealer. He had like better drugs and shit. He's like, I'll give you a dime with some really bomb ass weed and shit. I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? So I fucking walk over there and the kid's like, I'll never forget. He's like in the driver's seat with the door open, right? And he's like sitting like this, like smoking a cigarette, trying to be cool. And like all his friends are right here. And I just like walk right up to him and he looked at me like, oh shit. And then I went, bam, 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 right in the face, took a step back, grabbed the door and went, bam, 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 right in his fucking leg. And I just looked at everybody, I go, anything? No? All right. And then just walked out. And then I just walked back and the kid was like over there like, holy shit, dude, fuck. And then he went to his trunk and just pulled out like a handful of fucking like chronic ass weed right there and just handed it to me. He was like, you should leave them.
Damn, is it the first time you like seriously fucked someone up?
No, I had been in fights. I mean, that was the first time like I fucking slammed somebody's leg with a car door, yeah. But usually, like I said, man, like my go-to was I would just double leg somebody, fucking slam them on the ground and stamp on their head.
But will you usually win fights?
Yeah, just like that. And I turned out to be a super shitty wrestler, but on the street, man, even a little bit will get you far. You know? And, like I ended so many fights that way. One time we were coming back from TJ and we were blackout drunk, you know, because you were like 18 or 17, you can go to TJ, get drunk, not get carded. So there's a Jack in the Box right across from the border where it's right the trolley station. You usually wait for the first trolley in the morning to start heading back and shit. And I had a friend who was Russian and when he would drink, he would totally lose it. He would just be like a fucking zombie after that. He could drink all night, but he's not present. I put him in line. I said, get us some food. I go to the bathroom. I come back. He's arguing with somebody. And I could just tell from the looks on their faces like it's about to go down. And the dude balls up his hand. I go, oh shit, that dude's going to knock George out. Because I'm like, if he hits him, like George doesn't have the wherewithal to do anything, right? So I just run over there and I double leg takedown. My go-to move, I double leg takedown the guy. I swear the legs like go over the head. I slam him on the ground and then I just start stepping on his head. And then I grab George and I just run out. And for years, like that was the days of like, man, I can't even remember those shows, but they were like the after school shows with the news. And I was just waiting for it to like pop up on one of those, you know, where you just see yourself and like, oh shit.
What's the most trouble you got in with the law?
I did a few months for terrorist threats, which was really just came down to me not having a good attorney. So basically what happened was I was an adult, I think I was 18 or 19, and this is the reason why I ended up getting deported to Mexico later on. And I was drinking with my friend, same guy, George, the Russian, the crazy Russian. And I was too young to buy the alcohol, but he was a few years older than me, so he went inside the liquor store, and I was just waiting outside, you know, like this, come back, we take off, kill a fucking 12-pack, come back. So we did it a few times throughout the day, and I guess this guy that owned a comic book shop had just gotten sick of fucking like seeing fucking these dudes hanging around the front of his store, and he said something. But I couldn't hear what he said, so I had to walk inside the comic book store to see what he was yelling at me, and I'm like, what's going on? And he like, oh, you fucking teenagers and you're blah, blah, blah. And he just started fucking going off, dude. And me being a rowdy kid, I was like, man, fuck you, you know? And then he came around hit the counter and he pushed me. Now, mind you, this is a fucking grown-ass adult. I'm like 18 or 19. Back then, I weighed like 120 pounds. And I go, if you fucking touch me again, I will fucking kill you. Like that, you know? No intentions behind it, but just fuck, dude, letting people know, you know, like, hey, don't put your hands on me. And fucking George comes out with the beer and he's like, dude, let's get the fuck out of here. I'm like, all right, let's go. Fucking I run out and shit. So it turns out that there was a witness. There was a person inside the shop, an adult that was buying comic books that later testified, yeah, he threatened to kill him. So that's automatic terrorist threats.
Terrorist threats?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
So later on that night, George was an adult, but his fucking parents used to drive him around because he's a fucking fuck up. And then he goes, hey, you know what? Like, my parents are gonna go pick me up. You know, I told him on the corner of so and so, let's go throw a fucking beer bottle through that fucking dude's window, you know? And I was like, whatever, all right, let's go. So I walk him there, and the dude's getting into his pickup truck. He's like closing up his shop, and he's still there. And he's like, hey man, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you real quick. Come here. And after the first fucking scuffle, because he pushed me and I kind of fucking pushed him back a little bit and shit. Like, he didn't really look like he wanted any, but now he really did. Now I could see it in his eyes that he was like it's a go. And I said, something's fucking wrong. So I fucking threw a bottle, and it didn't hit him. I was fucking so drunk and shit. But right then, like 6 squad cars came out of fucking nowhere. And then they just started chasing me, and I fucking started running, and eventually they tackled me. I ended up face down in the grass, like grass in my mouth. They ripped my shirt off. They were like fucking me up. And when I went to jail, I was like, you know, fuck, like, what am I being charged for and shit? They dropped the whole thing with like throwing the fucking bottle at him because they wanted to fucking blow that up to like fucking attempted fucking murder or some shit like that, you know? They always throw the book at you until you negotiate. And then they're like, okay, well, we're going to charge you for terrorist threats because you did say you were going to kill him. And then there's a fucking witness that's going to testify to that. Having no money for a fucking attorney, you get a fucking dump truck, that's what you call him in jail, a fucking dump truck attorney. And this fucking lawyer's like, oh, you'll be out sooner if you just plead guilty. And I'm like, sure, yeah, okay. I should have fucking fought that shit, you know? Like, not that I had a future career in politics or anything, but there was definitely a lot of fucking jobs in the near future after that I couldn't get, you know, because I was a felon. So he fucking got me time served. I was there a few months. At the same time, I was gonna enter like some kind of probation program and shit, like where they were gonna like check in on me, and I knew that I was gonna violate and go back to jail. So they made this deal where it was like, somehow we know you're undocumented. I don't know if they wanted to not involve the INS and it cost more money or what, but they said, if you show us a plane ticket saying that you're gonna go live with your dad in Mexico, we'll drop the probation and shit. And so I did. I fucking went to live with my dad in Mexico. And that just turned into a whole other fucking...
Wait, so you actually did that?
Yeah.
How long? Did they say, like, you have to actually stay, or just show us a plane ticket?
Just show us a plane ticket that you're going to go live with your dad.
They wanted to do it.
Yeah, they didn't do... I didn't want to, but my mom was like, fuck, dude, like, I can't stand you, you know, and you're about to go to jail or get killed or do something. Yeah. So she was like, go do something with your life. My dad had, like, a factory. He was like, he's like, you could have a factory, you know, if you just fucking settle down and learn how to run it.
Yeah.
I wasn't about it. You know, like, I got there, he's very much like OCD. I love him, like we're still have a great relationship now, but back then, as like this teen that was like just fucking going through it, I didn't know how to relate to him. But I think a lot of the qualities that have made me successful in life, I got from that little time that I spent with him, or just genetically, like, I think we're very similar.
How?
We just, like, even though through my entire life, I had only seen him 10 or 12 times up until that point, when we spend time together, we can tell that genetically we're just like, even little things like we both don't like cold water, we don't like to eat these things, you know, like you pull your feet out when you go under the sheets, or it's crazy, just like little things that, you know, like genetics.
What
I don't
about
know.
like the things you said that made you successful that you got from him?
Oh yeah, he's just a super fucking hard worker. He's like super fucking OCD too. Like my mom, I don't know who to believe, but like my mom says, like, you'll beat your ass if you come home and like the towels are not straight, you know?
Right.
Like, there's a movie called Sleeping with the Enemy with Julia Roberts, and she like escapes from her husband. Like, we saw that at the movie theater, and my mom's like, "That's your dad." And I'm like, and like he was very strict, you know, especially the way I was raised. I was raised like, you don't want to go to school, don't go to school, you know, like. I think I was born to be an artist, really. Like,
yeah. Well, you have the stoic tattoo. Is that like something that stoicism? Is that something that you live by in terms of like working hard?
Yeah, for sure. Like, stoicism, I think, has made a huge change in my life. At some point when I started to try to fix my life, you know, you start on a spiritual path. Like, I wouldn't say I'm religious or aligned with any major religion, but I did like a lot of things in Buddhism. And I know there's secular Buddhism, which is like Buddhists who practice the ideology without the religion attached to it. But when I started researching more and more stuff, I found Stoicism, and for me, I felt it made a really positive influence. So I just thought it was a cool fucking tattoo, you know, like, but also as a fighter, it's like a real good quality to have, you know. It's like if you get fucking rocked, you want to just act like you're cool.
So what are the tenets of Stoicism that you incorporate?
Just like memento mori, like, you know, like what would you do if you know you're gonna die? So live your fucking life like you're gonna die. But do everything with a balance, because if you live like that and you go off the balance grid to like pleasure, you know, you're like, fuck this, and you're gonna ruin everything, and if you don't die, you have a fucked up life. You know, so just try to be good to people and live your life for the most, you know. Like, to me, that's the most important one. I always try to just remember, it means remember death, you know.
Right.
So memento mori is like a huge one for me.
So what was the point that you tried to turn things around? Was there a rock bottom beforehand?
I mean, there was definitely a lot of times that I thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, in that life of crime, a lot of times, and you're just like, fuck, man, like,
Yeah.
you know, I got away again.
Yeah.
And you know, and then what happened was when I was in Mexico, I had entered a lottery to get the green card. There was a green card lottery years ago. And when I got arrested for that felony, I was sure that they were going to take me out of the lottery, but they didn't. So I was in Mexico, and my mom called me up, and she goes, I don't know what happened, but your green card papers came in the mail.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, that's fucking good, because I hate it here. Yeah. And because I was just butting heads with my dad. Even though I learned a lot from him, at that time I wasn't ready.
What was he having you do?
He is just very strict, you know, and I also came from like an environment where I was like a criminal with not a lot of money at all, you know, and then like his friends had sons and their children were raised with money, and I didn't feel like I fit into that world.
Right.
And also it's like, I didn't know at that time what I wanted to do artistically, but I knew I didn't want to own a factory. And like his whole thing is like he built this little empire from the ground up.
Factory of what?
Shoes. He was in the shoe business. So like he was abandoned by his father when he was very young, and he got into construction like when he was 12. He was working, very hard worker, you know. And then somehow he got into the shoe business and started doing really, really good in the shoe business. And then somebody from Mexico reached out to somebody in Spain and said, hey, I have a shoe factory and I need help with it. And he said, oh man, this kid's great. Like, he's running shit over here. So they brought him to Mexico. He worked with a very big shoe brand in Mexico, and he saved his own money and eventually was like, hey guys, thank you very much. I'm gonna go start my own thing. And he started his own little shoe business, women's shoes. And he did very well. And then at some point the Mexican economy crashed. Because you know that joke when you're a kid, everybody's like, oh yeah, I'll give you $1,000,000 pesos because it ain't worth nothing. Well, it used to be like, for the long time, it used to be like 10 pesos to $1, which is not bad, you know? And then the economy crashed, and then eventually it was like 1,000 pesos to $1,
right.
You know? And then recently when people see 12 pesos, it's because like they cut the zeros off.
Right.
We're like, okay, we don't want to fucking have all these fucking zeros in our 30,000 pesos for a Coke, please, you know? So we cut all the zeros off, and that's why it's back to double digits now.
So you started like working on, so it was really your wife also when you came back. When you came back, you started getting to the bikes?
Yeah, when I came back, I first of all, for the first time in my life, I could work for a living.
Right.
So then I was like, fuck crime, man, this is a pain in the fucking ass. Like, it's like, and like I always wanted to rob a bank and shit, but you look around, you're surrounded by fucking idiots, and you're like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, my friend's like, yeah, we'll just fucking walk in with a grenade. I'm like, oh, that's a terrible plan. You know, like, so like you look around and you're like, okay, I don't have the resources to make some heat, you know, type shit happen. Like Al Pacino and fucking De Niro, so I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, you know, like it's too hard to even make money like this.
What was the most like ambitious like crime you did?
Ambitious. I mean, there's some things that I wouldn't talk about, but definitely like, you know, armed robbery related and stuff like that, and you know, just selling drugs, you know, like flipping drugs and stuff.
Are there any other, like, you said there's millions of times that are, you know, many times that you almost died.
Yes.
Is there, what else are you leaving
Well, I mean, a lot of that was like on the motorcycles, drinking and driving. Like we were just alcoholics, you know. Like we thought like we lived in this mind style that it was like our day job to stay drunk and high, and we were just fucking out there functioning in society. And then when you're like that, you're also like a loose cannon and shit. So it only takes a spark to flick it off, you know. And it's like, oh shit, I just remembered one. There was, so one time, my brother, I call him my brother, but he was my best friend, but we were like brothers because we were just like in it together, you know, from the start. And we had just sold some drugs. We had both, he had graduated, he was like 1 or 2 years older than me. I had gotten kicked out of high school for fighting, and we went to meet some high school kids to sell them some weed or something. And he pulls out of the high school, like literally like Tokyo Drift style fucking, he drove like a fucking madman everywhere. Like he drove like the Fast and the Furious everywhere he went 24/7. And he fucking pulls out sideways. And he fucking like, he's like, in this cop, I knew it was a cop car. An undercover car pulls up next to us. It's 2 dudes in a suit. He goes, slow down. And Dwayne's like, fuck you. And I go, cops. And he goes, where? And I go, those fucking dudes. He goes, dude, those guys are like Jehovah's Witness or something. And I go, oh, fuck. So the guy's like, fucking pull over, like that. And Dwayne's like, oh yeah, motherfucker? So we pull into like a taco shop, and he fucking like blocks us, right? So we can't go forward, we can't go back. Dude, they jump out of the fucking car, Dukes of Hazzard styles, guns drawn. And put your hands on the desk. Oh, fuck. Like that, dude. And he was just like, what the fuck's going on? I'm like, I fucking told you they're fucking cops. They were like, what do you call them? Homicide. Yeah, they just didn't want to fuck with 2 fucking kids, but they see us drive like assholes. Of course they're going to say something, you know? Yeah. And so they fucking yank us out of the fucking car. They run our shit. At that time, we didn't have any warrants or anything. But the whole fucking time, like, Dwayne's like, dude, when the guy's like, fucking guns out, right? And for a second, he's like, don't take your hands off the fucking dash. And he's like, I'm going to go run your names. And the other guy was like talking to him. And he was like, take the fucking weed. And he's like, put it in the fucking seat. Like, just open the bag and spread it open and like just pour it into the seat like that. And we're like, okay, like that. And he's right here talking to his fucking partner. And I'm like, nah, this weed's too good, man. I can't do that. And I just like, I pulled it out and I just slid it into the seat, but still in the fucking baggie. And then I put my hands back and shit. Eventually they pull us out of the fucking car. They search the car and they find the fucking bag. But that's like small fucking potatoes for them, dude. They didn't even want to fucking write us up and shit. So they just like gave us a hardcore fucking lecture, which we 100% deserved. And then they let us go. They took the weed, you know? But I was like, fuck, you know? I mean, they were going to find it anyways and shit, so.
That was a close call for sure.
Yeah.
So like, there's, you come back, what is like the first job you get? Is it the motorcycle?
No, the first job I got as soon as I had the ability to work as a documented citizen was I went to a temp agency because I had no job experience at anything. And when people say temp work, it's like they picture a secretary, but no, it's like a fucking roofing company has a dude call in sick, so they call, and then you go do roofing with 0 experience on top of a fucking roof, you know? And they send me to like a recycling plant. They send me to a lot of trash shit, like you just hang on the side of the trash truck and you're the one that moves it, so he can pull the dumpster, you know? So a lot of shit like that.
And then when did you start doing the motorcycle stuff?
Eventually, they got me a job. I think there was like at a trash place, and somebody told me about something at San Diego Transit, so I got a job at San Diego Transit. I was doing really good. And then I got a motorcycle, my first motorcycle. And fuck, I was like a terror on wheels almost instantly, you know? And I think I fucking wrecked it. And I went to a motorcycle shop to get like an insurance estimate to get another one. And they just happened to be like falling apart at the moment that I walked in. And I heard them talking about hiring somebody, and I had 0 experience. And what I didn't know is that the business was like going under hardcore, and they just fucking needed somebody to be there, you know? And then the guy was like, oh, what? Oh, you like bikes? Oh, you want? Oh, yeah, come on, fuck. And they hired me, and then like it wasn't soon after that that the paychecks started getting more scarce and harder to come by. And then he would bribe me with motorcycle parts, and then he would like give me shit, you know, like, oh, look, hey, this fucking exhaust came out, or, you know, why don't you take it for your bike? Or eventually I owned the whole shop though. Eventually he was like ready to fucking split town, and he's like, take everything, take the workbenches, take everything. And I was like, I love motorcycles. I was like, ah, fuck yeah, you know? And so then I got hired at another motorcycle shop after that one went out of business. And it was crazy because that shop was actually racing nationally. And that year it was like the top private team in the United States.
What is like the league?
It was AMA Superbike Racing.
Okay.
Yeah, and at the time they were the very top amateur team. They ranked like 5th in the country, and everybody else was the factory teams. Okay. And so I thought they were gonna make it, and this guy was just like, I'm just working, I'm gonna get us a sponsor, and as soon as I get us a sponsor, I'm gonna pull us out. And he just never did. And he was one of those dudes, I think, that's always like just cashing checks, burning bridges, you know, like shit where people are coming, serving him papers all the time. You know, that's the first time I ever got served papers. I was there. And it was like, because later I became a process server years on.
Really?
Yeah, and it was one of the most interesting jobs I've ever had. And like,
it sounds like hell.
Oh, it was so fun at first, but then it got super fucking old. It's literally delivering bad news for a living. Literally.
Well, you're the perfect guy because people don't want to whoop your ass, you know, because people get so angry when they're getting delivered.
I didn't look this tough back then either. I think I was a lot smaller. I didn't have as many tattoos, but nobody ever wanted to get into it. But I think it's more like your attitude. You know, like somebody says something, and you're like, and then they're like, okay, you know, like, you know, it's more attitude, I think, than looks, you know. But yeah, so the guy served me there. I was there, and he's just like, oh, is Mike? No, Mike's not here. Oh, you work here though? Yeah, yeah. Are you 18? Yeah, I'm 18. Oh yeah, you've been served. Boom, like you get tricked into it like that. Yeah. There's just like a couple of things you qualify to see if it's legal, and you do it, you know.
And with the motorcycles, can you just like give us like sort of an intro to that? It's like, yeah, I used to be really into motorcycles at this time in my life.
Yeah. So at that time in my life, I was just like super into motorcycles. I used to watch motorcycle racing all the time. And at that time, my wife had gotten me so serious and back on track that I had gone back to school. And I was actually looking really good to get an engineering degree. So she signed me up at community college, and I was really good at math before fighting. It's a cliche, but you get fucking hit in the head and like shit doesn't work the same. Yeah. I was super good at math. So I was taking all these engineering courses and getting like really good grades. And she went to UC Berkeley, so she wanted to go back to the Bay Area. So I was in this 2-year program where all I had to do was maintain my GPA, and I would automatically transfer without a question into UC Berkeley. And I wanted to be like an engineer and build motorcycles and shit like that, you know? So I was like super into the bike and the mechanical aspect of it as well.
You said that you got hit in the head so many times you can't do math as well?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Really?
Yes. It's like they say it's a fucking cliche, but it's 100% fucking true. Your brain doesn't work the same after like hundreds of concussions.
You had hundreds?
Oh yeah, like now if you watch one of those CTE movies, I think the one with Will Smith, or you research any of the science, basically any fucking time you get hit full force in the head, you have a concussion. That's your brain slamming up against your skull, you know? Yeah, I mean, fights are much worse, you know, because usually people don't know this, but the unhealthiest part of fighting is the dehydration, because everybody dehydrates themselves to make weight. So when you put that weight back on, you have a special brain fluid, like your body can't produce it right away. Right. So even though you like take IVs and do whatever you have to get fucking back to your normal weight, that brain fluid is not 100% back for a few days. So your brain's really fucking rattling around in there. So
do you feel like a different person than you were before?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, my brain just doesn't work the same. Like, I've never been good with dates, but my memory is sketch as fuck.
You seem to like be pulling out old stories very easily.
Yeah, I have access to like all the old files. You know, like the new ones get fucking like deleted. Like, you know, like somebody be like, oh, do you remember the first time we did this? Nope. You know, like, unless it made a huge impression. But you got to understand, like, these stories I'm telling you were almost a lot of them like near-death experiences. You know, like, thought I was going to die all the time back then. Yeah. You know, but like new memories, it's like the movie Memento. Have you ever seen Memento? Yeah, the dude can make new memories and shit. I'm very much like that.
And do you feel slower? Like, is it making you dumber? That's a tough trade-off.
Jesus Christ, is there a fan, dude? It's like hot as fuck.
Sorry, dude. Yeah.
No, I'll sweat. I mean, I don't know if I look shiny. I don't care.
You said you weren't a fighter, but you got kicked out of high school for fighting.
Yeah, back then I wasn't like known for fighting or anything like that, but I did get kicked out of high school for fighting.
What was that story?
So I was an undocumented citizen, and back then, I don't know, unless you're 40, you probably don't remember. Excuse me. Sorry. There was a law called 187, and it said that undocumented citizens could not go to school, go to the hospital, have a job, basically do anything without papers. So if you showed up at the ER and you couldn't prove that you were a citizen or a legal resident, they would deny you access. You would probably literally die right on the outside. So to me, that was kind of fucked up, because I was smuggled into the country. I didn't ask to be here and shit. This is just what I was dealt. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up. So I was on the wrestling team, and one of my teammates was like a blue-collar guy. His dad was, at least. And, I think he felt like, hey, my dad's paying for taxes, so these immigrants can go to our schools and go to our hospitals and shit like that. So obviously we had a differing points of view. And at some point I had a discussion. I said like, hey man, like whatever, your opinion's your opinion, but could you please stop? Because he was like literally like having speech rallies at school at the like auditorium and shit like that. So I was like, can you like keep it cool?
Saying what, like fuck these immigrants and stuff?
Yeah, shit like that, like why should we pay for them and fucking let them die at the, at the hospital and shit like that, So I was like super not down with that. And somebody basically came and told me, said, hey, fucking this dude's fucking talking shit again. And the lunch bell had just rang. So it was the start of fifth period, and I happened to know where his fifth period was. So I met him in the class as he was going in, and I basically dragged him out of class. And then we just started fucking throwing down and shit. He was bigger than me, and he was a good wrestler, so it was a really bad fight. Like, it was like I'm not gonna say that I was whooping his ass, but we were fucking getting into it to the point where like the teacher did not want to split it up. He didn't want to touch us, He didn't want to get involved in shit. And at some point, like he did, guys, and he tried to touch me. I was like, back up, old man. I was like, I'll fucking give you one too, And so there was a lull in the fight. Eventually we separated, and he got in between us, and he walked us to the office. And it's like the teacher, it was me, and the other dude right here. And at some point, like, I think the dude just like kind of sped up a little bit, and I just kind of saw him out of the corner of my eye, and I just went, bah, and I gave him another one, and we just kind of started going again. And then they fucking like, we were closer to the office, and people came, fucking separated us, took us to the office. They took him inside with the principal, and I could just see fucking, the way they're talking, pandemonium, and I hear police. And I'm like, oh, fuck, they're gonna call the cops. So at that point, I just left. I just walked out and went to the Taco Bell where I always hung out across the street. And I called my mom on a payphone. I go, hey mom, the cops are coming. If you could please come pick me up, I would appreciate it. She's like, yeah, I guess. So I was hiding in a bush until my mom fucking came and picked me up and took me back home. And I never went back to high school ever again. That was it.
You were a wild, wild kid.
Coincidentally, like a few weeks before that, they had called me into the office and just completely randomly were like, would you feel safer in a different learning environment? I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, would you like to go to Palomar? Which is like where they sent all the shitty kids. Like the kids that got expelled, got sent there. And they were asking me if I wanted to go there voluntarily. And I had like blue fucking hair, and I would just like dress like, I don't know. I was just fucking like so drugged up all the time. I didn't give a shit,
What was your vibe? Just like punk?
I fucking mixed it all in, man. If you could fucking put it in a fucking pot and mix it, it's just like, I didn't know where to fucking fit in, dude. I would just go to the fucking thrift store and just get all these multiple color shits, like Raver on acid meets a fucking essay and shit, because I would hang out with all these dudes from the hood too and shit. And it was just like one day, it was just like a fucking crazy cosmo of mixture of everything.
It's funny because like, I don't know, when my first glance, you reminded me of G.G. Allen. And I seen you did a couple paintings of him.
Yeah.
And he's like a degenerate, but like learning more about you, it's like you're not a degenerate because you're very disciplined. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've never been like a gutter punk, like I'm a little bit of a hippie. I don't like to shower every day, but I'm not like fucking pissing and fucking, like shit. I piss in jugs all the time, but that's for fun. I don't know. That's a habit I picked up when we were a plumber, you know.
Pissing in jugs?
Yeah, I used to work for my brother, and he was a plumber, and he had this very strict policy of not using the client's bathrooms. So we would like piss in jugs in the van and shit. Like he was just like terrified that we fixed something and then it like you use the toilet and then it would break or some shit like that, you know, or just getting it dirty, you know, like, you know, he was very professional in that one way. And so we would like have these like jars of this acid we used to pour down the drains. Yeah. And fucking it's like way worse than Drano. It's like this shit will probably melt liquid bodies. Like it's fucking intense, you know? It's like just enough not to burn the pipes, but definitely clear out all this shit. And you open it and you're like, fuck, dude. When you pour it down the sink, you almost have to evacuate the whole house till it fully gasses out. And so we had these empty bottles in the fucking truck all the time. And so he'd be like, yeah, we're just pissing the fucking bottle. And you're like pissing in it and the smell, because when it hits protein, that's what reacts. Yeah. And fuck, dude. And then you would close them. And the funny thing is that they would be almost the same color as when they were full with the acid. And so we'd have them in the back of the truck, and sometimes we'd open one by accident. You're like, oh, fuck, dude, we call it sun tea. We're like, oh, man. He's like, oh, dude, that one's full of sun tea. Put it back. And just put it back. So I don't know. Sometimes I'll just like piss in a jug for fun and just keep it in the van. You know, I don't know, for like nostalgia. Just nostalgia. So
did you first start getting into bare-knuckle?
No, first I got into MMA. Okay. And I sidetracked myself with all these stories, but you asked me, how did you get into MMA? Yeah. I was at the motorcycle shop. I was already fucking crashing bikes all the time, like really fucking about to die riding bikes. And my wife at the time was already telling me like, hey, fucking find yourself a new fucking hobby, you know? My brother, the same one from the other stories, invited me to watch this movie. It was called Mark Kerr, the Smashing Machine. It's a documentary. It does not depict a good lifestyle of fighters. And I saw it, I go, that's what I want to do in my life. I just fell in love with it. Like I had other than like street fights and a little wrestling in high school, I had no fucking experience, you know.
But you like won most of the fights.
Yeah. But through sheer luck, like I told you, I had one move. I had that one go-to move. That was it. Yeah. But I didn't like watch UFC. I didn't know any of that shit.
There really wasn't much UFC.
Back then there was. Oh. So by that time, like, this is actually right before The Ultimate Fighter came out. Okay. Because I think that was the defining moment.
So it's like 2002?
I'm really bad with dates.
Okay.
But this is the defining moment where like MMA was about to burgeon and blossom into its newest life form. And I saw the movie, I was like, holy shit, this is fucking dope. Now I was going to school I had fixed my life, you know, I had gotten back on track. I was going to college to be a mechanical engineer. Within 3 months of signing up at that gym, I'm like, fuck school, I'm gonna be a professional fighter. And I just fucking quit everything, you know? And I had the job at the motorcycle, and I would just work so I had enough money to train. And I just kept training. And then within a couple of years, like one of the fighters there was like, do you wanna be a professional fighter? And I was like, me? Like I was just shocked that I had, you know, like I had started tapping some of the professional fighters there during jiu-jitsu class, and I had no striking skills. And so I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it, you know? And then they signed me up for a fight, and my first fight, I completely knocked the guy unconscious by accident. Like I fucking hit him so hard that he was still asleep in the ambulance ride on the way home. And his mom was crying in the ambulance, like, oh my God, what happened? You know, like.
You just hit him.
I just hit him, you know, but like, I didn't know at the time, oh shit, I hit really fucking hard. Like I don't have a striking skill at that time. I wasn't, you know, like sharp or had technique, but I could fucking throw him. And if I hit you, you fucking get hurt, you know? I'm just naturally heavy-handed. Yeah. And so I think the mom was like his manager, had set up the fight and was yelling at the promoter and was like, you said he was just a jiu-jitsu guy. He didn't know any striking. He's like, I didn't fucking know. He's like, you know, like, and so this kid's like unconscious. The ambulance drives off, and I'm like, oh my God.
And how soon after you started was that?
Less than 3 years from the first time I walked into a gym.
And like you got paid for that first fight?
Like $500 or something like that.
But like how long did it take for you to like actually like full time be that?
Like just a couple more years after that. Because then I got like offered to be on this like tournament that was supposed to change my life, but everything went wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
So that was like the first season of Bellator. And when Bellator came out, it was tournaments. They had a tournament for every weight class. But the name Bellator comes from Latin roots, and they had gotten a contract with ESPN Deportes, which is the Spanish ESPN, and they wanted all Latino fighters, preferably if they spoke Spanish, which I do. And my manager also happened to be the matchmaker for them, so he got a bunch of people from our gym into that tournament. Even the first round, if you lost, the first round was $10,000.
Wow.
So I was like, fuck, even if I lose the first fucking fight, I can start floating money to the next fight and just keep it fucking going. Because even though I'm not delusional that like, oh, I was gonna be a champion. I'm fucking fun to watch. I don't give a fuck if I'm the best or the worst. It doesn't matter. When I go out there, I give it 100% and I never have a boring fight. Because I always walk forward no matter what the fuck is happening. So I just knew that if I got in front of a big enough audience, like I was gonna have a career as a fighter. So I quit my job, and that's when when I signed with them, I was like, I'm gonna do this tournament, and after this, boom, it's gonna be big TV, UFC, everything, you know? Yeah. Didn't work out that way. So what happened was I was supposed to fight this fighter called Jorge Masvidal, who is a very high-ranked UFC 170-pounder. Back then, he used to fight at 155. Nobody checked the records or ran it by the commission. It was going to be in Florida. And he had like 4 times more fights than me. So last minute, the commission, by the way, right now I'm a lot bigger, but I used to weigh 175 and I used to fight at 155. So I would always cut 20 pounds of water for every fight, okay? It's very draining. It's very hard on the body. I had already cut my weight. I was supposed to fly out to Florida. My manager calls me up and he says, hey, nobody ran this fight past the commission and they think it's a mismatch, so they're gonna replace you with somebody else, somebody from the Midwest who's undefeated. Well, it turned out this kid was undefeated because he's been fighting in super shitty shows, you know, where like, it's like barnyard burners with who knows who he was fighting. This kid comes in undefeated. As soon as the referee said go, Jorge starts coming forward, and this kid goes like this, runs backwards, and they stop the fight. Like, I don't even know if he got hit, and that kid got $10,000. Boom. Okay. So then I go.
They stopped the fight because he just was like, okay.
Well, Jorge was kind of punching him, but the kid covered up and just started running backwards. Like, I don't know if any of them really hit him or landed. Yeah. But he just went like this and started like, boom, 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 boom.
Your mic, sorry, I'm just looking at that, and it feels like you might want to stick it more.
They just stopped the fight because he was running. He was covering up like this. Jorge was walking forward. I'm sure Jorge landed some punches, but he was basically just running backwards the whole time. So they stopped it. You know, he's not defending himself. So I talked to the owner of Bellator and I go, okay, so what's going to happen now? Oh, well, we can't put you back in the tournament because you already missed the first round. I go, so what's going to happen? I just quit my job. No, we're going to get you a fight in 2 weeks. All right. So 2 weeks go by. I cut weight again. Let me see, which one was this? Because they happened 3 different times, back to back to back. So that was the first one. I got pulled out. The second one, I think, is Uncasville, Connecticut. Excuse me. That's on an Indian reservation. They have their own commission that runs the things out there. And I had gotten a little tear. This is when I started having problems with my eye. I had a little tear in my retina. It wasn't detached, but I had a little tear. Eye doctor fixed it, wrote a note, said he's 100% clear to fight. So they show this note to the guy at the commission, who's like basically a gaming guy at a casino. He doesn't have no medical background, and he looks at it and goes, "Oh shit, I don't think you should fight." You know, I'm gonna say no. And I'm like, "Are you a doctor?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Well, my doctor's a doctor," and he said yes. And he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm just not gonna allow it." And later, I think there was some other shady shit going on. Like, I think my opponent maybe didn't get cleared medically either. And then the owner of the Bellator said, well, if we don't clear either one of them, then we don't have to pay any of them their show-up money. So this is the second time I made weight, didn't get paid again. Flew back home. They go, oh, don't worry, we'll get you another fight in 2 weeks. So this is my third time making weight. And they fly me out to Corpus Christi, and I'm fucking on weight. I show up at the weigh-ins. My opponent's 8 pounds overweight. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh man, I got sick this week, and then I was hydrating, I got super hydrated, and then I can't get all the weight off. And usually after you weigh in, they give you like, depending on the commission, 1 to 2 hours to cut some more weight, and then that's your final weigh-in. So I go, all right, man, just go, go cut your extra weight, whatever you can, and then we'll talk about it later. He goes, bro, I'm so fucked up. He goes, if I sign over my purse money to you right now, my show money, would you, fight me as is at this weight? And he could be like, go home and put on 20 pounds for all I fucking know, Statistically, when somebody doesn't make weight, they usually win the fight. And I go, fuck it, I need this money, man. I signed the contract. They gave me his purse. So that time I did get paid. I got paid $2,000 for me showing up and his $2,000 for him showing up.
Why would he do that?
Because he was so fucked up, he felt he was going to die if he cut any more weight.
Right, but like, why doesn't he just like not make weight and not fight if he's not going to make any money on the fight?
Because he could still get his win money.
Oh, got it. Okay.
If he wins the fight, he still gets his win money, and he would still be okay, So we show up the next day. I'm already wrapped up, ready to go. I see the card. They show you the card of what order you're going to fight in. And then I see people going past me, and I talk to the promoter, and they go, he hasn't showed up yet. I go, what the fuck? What do you mean he hasn't shown up yet? Yeah, he said he's still sick, and he's not coming in. All right, I take all the shit off. I go in the crowd. I literally buy a beer and a hot dog, and I'm eating my hot dog, enjoying it. I'm enjoying my hot dog and drinking my beer, and the owner of Bellator fucking comes up to me again. He just called. He said he's down to fight, and he's on the way here. Are you down? I go, yeah, I'm down, man. Fuck, hold on. So fucking throw away my shit. I go back there. I get fucking wrapped up again. I'm waiting. The card's almost over. Comes back in again. He goes, I'm sorry, he's still not here. I go, am I getting fucking punked, dude? Like, what is going on? Like, where's Ashton Kutcher? Like, what is going on? They go, yeah, they say even if he shows up right now, like, they wouldn't even let him fight the commissioner. I go, good, that was highly unprofessional, the whole thing. Yeah. All right, fine. So I go back, get unwrapped, eat another hot dog, watch the main event, done. 2 more weeks, we'll get you another fight. I've already made weight like 3 times within 6 weeks. My body is fucked up. I'm not a natural striker. I'm more of a grappler. I love throwing down, but it's all about timing. Yeah. Everybody was like, dude, don't even train, dude. Just recover your body. I didn't go to the fucking gym. He got me another fight in 2 fucking weeks, and it was a fucking killer, dude. Like a killer of a fucking dude. And I go in there. I make weight. We go in there. He literally knocks me out like 4 times in the first round. And I just keep surviving. So I had only lost one MMA fight up to this point. And 100% in my opinion, if they had not stopped it, I would have still won that fight. And the referee literally told me, I'm sorry, I think I stopped it too soon. So once that happened, I've always had a conversation with the referee before the fight. And this is actually a very famous referee. He's an actor on the Mayans, and I think he's a full-time sheriff or police officer. His name is Mike Beltran. He works for Bellator and a couple other promotions. He has 2 big, gnarly, like, mustache handles that come all the way down here, And so I pull him aside. I go, hey, Mike, I don't know if you've seen me fight, man, but I go, whatever happens, do not stop the fight unless I'm fucking dead with my dick in the ground. And he's like, all right, motherfucker, but if you get fucked up, it's 100% on you. Like, and I'm like, whoa, dude. Like, I'm like, calm down, dude. I felt like me and him were about to fight. I was like, I got to go fight this guy, like super aggressive. And sure enough, man, I went out there. He let me get my fucking ass beat. Like, I was legit, like, unconscious like 3 or 4 times in the first round. And I think this dude, who later was like ranked super high in the weight class, like, I don't know if he ever fought for the title, but he beat like this other killer at a higher weight class, a guy who was super famous. He ran in the top 10 for a really long time. We're going at it. At some point, I think this dude mentally breaks, goes, I can't kill this guy. This guy won't fucking stop. You know, like you can kind of see, like if you watch the fight where his like goes, fuck, I don't know what's going on here. And I just start taking over. And then at some point I get him in a guillotine and I'm choking him. And I'm like, oh shit, he's getting out. Later I saw the video. I didn't realize I had picked him up so high that his feet weren't touching the ground. And he went unconscious. He went limp, so he was starting to slip out. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm losing the guillotine, he's getting out. So I dropped him, and he was like unconscious for a second. If you watch the video, I get on top and I start fucking punching him in the side of the head. The side's legal, not the back. The side of the head, he turns over, I get the fucking choke. This is all in the first round, mind you, like 50 seconds before the timer goes off. I've definitely lost a round. I've been knocked out 4 times, at least, in this round. He fucking rolls over, gives me his back, boom, I get in the rear naked choke, round's over, I win. The owner of the owner of Bellator is like, oh my God, this is the most exciting fight I've ever seen. I can't wait to see you in the tournament next year. Never heard from him ever again. Never. Yeah, and that's the luck I had with fighting the whole fucking time. It was like I was always right on the cusp of making it, and I never did, and it was always like right on the cusp.
But it seems like you were like good enough. There's so many factors that go into it, right? It's like having the right like team behind you. And
yeah, of course. And I did. I had the right connections. I had the right manager. A bunch of my teammates were in the UFC. I had everything. Like you said, I wasn't the most technical. I wasn't like probably gonna win the belt in the UFC, but I was definitely gonna be like a very entertaining fighter that will hold his own. It's just things kept happening. It was just never quite made it.
But you do make a living from it.
I did. I mean, I'm mostly retired now.
Your last one is coming up, right?
I'm trying to get one last one, but if I can get one big payday, because of all the media attention that I've gotten, I'm trying to negotiate a better deal. With my eye situation, it's really not worth me fighting unless like I really get paid a certain amount.
Do you feel like the drag character that you've developed has helped you get fights because it makes you more of a sellable character?
I think the drag persona has improved my career because mainly I consider myself an artist. Like everything I do comes from the branch of the tree of artistry, like even when I perform, I call it a performance. When I fight in the ring,
right? No, totally.
The way I make it entertaining, it's like an art form,
Right.
Like I'm fucking around sometimes, like, losing a little bit to make it exciting.
Yeah.
Like I risk more than most people would. And it's because it's more about entertainment to me.
But you're like almost like, you're like a glutton for pain, would you say?
It's a real tricky one because people go, you must be a masochist. I'm fucking not. I'm really not. I just take it much better than most people. I just think I have a mentality, and that's where the stoicism comes in, that lets me deal with an unrealistic amount of pain. Like when I was walking on the broken leg for 3 days, or I was refusing to have my hand x-rayed when it was clearly like this fucking big,
Well, just like I said, like you reminded me of Gigi Allen, and like his whole performance was like just self-abuse in a way, and like doing it with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like when you say it's performance, how would you say, like, how do you make it a performance?
Wow, that's really interesting. I had never thought about it that way. But yeah, I guess I'm willing to sacrifice myself to entertain you.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it, that's... Yeah.
Do you try to like make it theatrical? Like I've seen like some videos of you swinging, and you just swing like crazy. It's not like measured. It's like I'm going.
I'm not like a 1-2 straight down the pipe boxer. I'm like crazy hooks. Because I can rip power. But I'm also don't have great vision. So like, it's hard to know exactly where you are sometimes. But if I land them, holy shit! Like I do put people to sleep.
What was like your best win?
Technically, over Jens Pulver, who was a UFC champion. He was a former UFC champion. At some point he beat BJ Penn, and it was kind of at the end of his career a little bit, but it was still a pretty good matchup, and I fucking dropped him. I think I dropped him with a left, and then when he was down, I guillotined him, and that was a huge name.
What was your biggest knockout?
The BKFC, the last one I did, not the second to last fight I did, was this kid who's like, He's really tough, man. He's like 10 years younger than me, but he's fought some of the best guys already at BKFC, and he holds his own. That fight, yeah, BKFC is the bare knuckle fighting championship, which is like right now the premier bare knuckle boxing league. And you got to understand, like, that was illegal in the United States for a very long time. Yeah. They made bare knuckle boxing illegal, you know? Yeah. And
is it more dangerous than the gloves? Because some people say the gloves make it more.
It's really weird to quantify that, because they're two different kinds of danger. Okay, I think you can probably maybe get more of an eye injury with the boxing. I mean the bare knuckle, because you know, if you get a knuckle right in the eye, or sometimes if people are trying to like parry a punch and an open finger gets in there, that can be very dangerous to your eyesight. But long term, I think the glove boxing is more dangerous for your brain, because you can hit harder without breaking your hand. You can have the extra bulk of the glove also adds to the impact on the brain. Plus you don't get cut, so you can continue the fight longer, which means you're taking more of a beating. With the bare knuckle boxing, the fight's way more superficial. You look bloody as fuck, but that's really superficial stuff. It just starts, you know, little cuts start opening up, and they look bloody, but they're not the end of the world.
Yeah. So do the fights, they don't last as long as UFC fights?
No, they have to be way shorter. Okay. Like, yeah, if you ran them as long as UFC fights, like the people would just be fucking. They would stop them sooner, because like you're getting so cut up.
Yeah, well, you look. There's a lot of pictures of you with blood all over your face.
Yeah, yeah. And that's because I don't have a great head movement. Like, I'll just like walk forward. You're landing the punches, but as soon as I get within distance, you know, I'm throwing heat.
Yeah, and just like the friction of it just opens little cuts.
Yeah, you know, like the friction of skin on skin. That's why they use the Vaseline, you know. But you sweat the Vaseline off almost instantly as soon as the round starts.
Yeah. So one last one, and it's just because. Why aren't you quitting? You want to just get one last payday in? Or what?
I would like to actually have a fight where I get paid what I think I'm worth, you know, which hasn't happened in my career. Right. I've made some decent paydays, but nowhere close to what I think my value is. Right. And I would like to have one last fight to do that, but only if I have the right bargaining chips, like some of the media that I'm getting right now and some articles that are coming out, hopefully.
I think it's smart. Like, I mean, obviously, like, you are an artist, and like the drag persona is your self-expression, but obviously I think that would be a way for you to, like, if you get more attention to the novelty of being this tough alpha guy with all these tattoos that also like shows his feminine side, which I really think it's super cool, because so often when people see someone in drag or something, they immediately want to put a label on them as, oh, that's he's trans, or, you know, but you're just doing it. It's like, this is just my expression. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
you know
it's performance art.
Yeah.
I see it as 100% performance art, and that's like one thing that I would like people to take away with it, that clothes don't have a gender. Right. You can dress however the fuck you want to dress. It doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you're lesbian. It doesn't mean shit, you know? You can dress however you want. And that's not even what I do, really. Like, I just want to incorporate that knowledge into it. What I do is literally a performance art. I'm a cis male, and I perform as a female. And I like to perform. I like to entertain, you know, and I like to, like, let out my feminine side. I enjoy that, you know?
So, like, how did you stumble into that?
Through a class that I took. I was raised by a single mom. You know, I didn't have my dad very much in my life. I had a couple of gay cousins. There was a lot of feminine energy at the house. We used to kind of dress up and perform around the house. Big fan of Whitney Houston and Madonna, you know, growing up. So like, it's just like I was just raised different, you know, and I didn't have that male influence. Well, my brother is my best friend that I refer to as my brother, but we didn't really start hanging out until high school. And honestly, like, one of the reasons I latched onto him was because he was a figure that I looked up, because he was very masculine. And I see, oh shit, like, this is how you handle stuff. Like, I kind of learned how to be tough from watching him, you know? So that's where that whole relationship came in. But it turned out he was a fucking mess. And, you know, you shouldn't look up to people that are selling drugs and committing crime all the time.
But the funny thing is that, like, you present so masculine, and are guys like you rare in the drag world?
I think we're definitely the minority. I think definitely the majority of drag queens are either gay men or trans, male to female. But there's also a lot of drag kings now too. So it goes both ways. But it's like, I definitely think I'm the minority in drag. Yeah.
And like, just for like explanation, like what makes you a minority in drag?
Just being a cis hetero male in drag, I guess.
But also like,
but one that's like so masculine too. Like also like that's what I talk about as an artist. Like I'm extreme as a person, and it's like the fucking extremes. Like I'm not just like a drag queen, but I'm like a fucking bare-knuckle boxer. Like you just can't. You can't fucking. How can you get further on the spectrum than that? You know, like.
Yeah. So like, it's almost like you needed an outlet, right? Because you've been leaning so hard in this one direction that like the outlet had to be something extreme. Would you say like I'm kind of tapping on the right thing? Like you feel like you've neglected your feminine side for like most of your life?
I guess it's giving me more license to express it.
Right.
It's something I definitely enjoy, so it's giving me more license to express it and be creative at the same time, which is always my favorite thing.
Right.
You know, like at the root of everything, like I consider myself an artist first. Since I was a little kid, like the first thing I wanted to do was be an artist when I was a little kid. And then when I got into all that crime, like I thought I was gonna go to art college to be a graphic designer because I didn't understand the difference between fine art and commercial art, and I just wanted to make a living. So I thought, oh, graphic designer, being a cartoonist was gonna be the first thing that I had planned as an adult, until I got fucking derailed by all the drugs and the crime and all that shit. And it wasn't until I was an adult that the first thing I got a passion for was motorcycles, because it was also very destructive, even though like I was a citizen with a job. And then I kind of got out of that and got into fighting. And then fighting was my thing for a while. And then I got into the drag thing. And now that I'm going to retire from fighting, I'm going back to being an artist. So it's a fucking loop, you know? Like now the circle is fully complete, you know? And it's great because you can't fight forever. It's fleeting. It's a thing. It's a thing of youth. Yeah. But you can create art until the day you die. Yeah. So this is something that I'll be able to do until to the grave.
Describe the character.
Lola?
Yeah.
Lola's just like fiery, and she's just very like I can't explain it, but like once I put the makeup, it's like just my mannerisms get a lot more feminine. I know how to accentuate certain things. I know how to talk, you know, like I have a pretty deep voice, but you know, soften it up, and I love to dance and I love to shake it, you know. And
so when you're doing a performance, what kind of stuff do you do? Like just dance?
I like upbeat songs, or like I'm shaking my ass and shit. And honestly, it's like I just need to I use super fucking crazy heels. Like if I actually tone down the heels, you would see me move like pretty insane. Like I can fucking shake it pretty good, you know? But I like it. I always go with the fucking crazy heels, and then it limits my mobility. I just need to practice some more. But if you come to a Lola show, you're gonna see like some serious ass shaking going on. I'm gonna fucking be like kicks, death drops, fucking hair twirls. Boom, everything.
Were a lot of people in your life shocked when you started doing this?
Oh, fuck yeah, tons. You know, like, the funny thing is, though, that it's like, I have a privilege. I have a privilege of being perceived as the strong, macho, fucking male that will fuck you up. So I don't know if I get the right feedback from people. I have heard almost nothing negative out of anybody. Right. But who the fuck is gonna say something to me, man? Even the people at the gym that are better than me, like where I train with like UFC champions and shit, most people go like, yeah, I'm not gonna fight Diego for fun. You know, like I'm not gonna fucking like just take him on for no fucking reason. Like it's gonna be a fucking nightmare, you know? Like, so like nobody's like, hey man, you're fucking like, nobody has been like, one guy pulled me aside. It wasn't even him. He was just curious. He's like, hey man, are you like concerned that other people at the gym think you're gay now? I go, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. Zero. And that's like my favorite part of being me. And if there's a lesson to take from this, it's like, just be yourself. You're going to be so much fucking happier. Like, my mom doesn't talk to me right now. You know, like, she didn't like the fucking drag thing, which I don't fucking understand because of the things she's done in life. Oh my God.
Well, I'm Mexican too.
Yeah.
And like my mom's side, they would not be. My grandmother would not be happy about one of us doing something like that.
Yeah.
Just because she's very from a different.
Traditional. It's from another time too, you know? So it's like, I've gotten very little negative feedback from what I have done. What I do get negative feedback, I choose to concentrate on all the positive feedback. Even if it was very little positive, I would always concentrate on the positive, and I take that from Stoicism too, you know? So I'm not gonna concentrate on the negative, and I'm gonna be who I am 100%. And that's what I would encourage people to do. It's just like, if you could just fucking be yourself, maybe a loved one will stop talking to you, there will be a price to pay, but at the end of the day, I think you'll be ultimately more happy.
So, like, are you comfortable talking about it though? Like, why did your mom? Like, what happened there?
Ah, fuck, dude. I have the voicemail on my phone. I save it. I relish it, honestly. But here's the thing. My mom, I forgive her for everything. I understand as an adult, you didn't have a good support structure. You were raised terrible. She ran away with the circus when she was 12. Like, I could get into a multitude.
She ran away with the circus?
Yeah, she's a fucking terror. She didn't go to fucking school. She never made me go to school. She would pick me up fucking drunk from school all the fucking time. You know, we can go on to a whole nother show about that. But at the end of the day, she was never very supportive, and she was very much work. It's very much work for me to have a relationship with my mom. She'll lie to me over stupid shit. Like, if she wants to borrow my van, like one of the last times I spoke to her a few months before the Vice article came out, which caused all this commotion and stuff.
Is that how she figured it out?
Yeah, I wasn't fucking hiding it, but I did it, and I invited her to a show, and I told her that it was because I did this class that gave me the inspiration to do it. And so in the voicemail that she left me on my phone, which, like I said, I fucking treasure it, she goes, at first I thought it was because you did that stupid class, but now I see that you like it, or some shit like that. And she's like, I'm ashamed of the things you do, and it's just very shameful, and I think you look terrible in drag makeup. You look hideous. And I'm like, fuck whatever, Mom. You know, like, you're such a pain in the ass to fucking deal with that it's like, if that's what it takes to cut you out of my life, fine, you know? And I haven't talked to her. Like, if she wants to talk to my kids, she could talk to my fucking kids. I don't care, you know?
You're married?
Yeah, I'm married.
And how'd your wife like take it?
My wife, no, she's fine. She's like, I'm like one of the craziest persons you could be married to. It's like shocking if I do shock you.
Right.
You know, like if you know me and then you're like, oh, Diego's gonna do that. Okay, yeah. Like, because it's really hard for me to get something that somebody will be like, oh, wait, what? You know, like, yeah.
And then like old friends who are like more like, you know, of the fighter like ilk, like they.
Yeah, like I said, all my fighter friends have been super supportive. They all think it's very entertaining and stuff. You know, I think some of them think it's funny and they don't really understand like the real artistic value, or like how it actually like is affecting some people in a positive light. You know, like it's actually turned out like I wasn't expecting that, but it's very rewarding. Because people from all over the world DM me and say, man, you're giving me the confidence to do something that I never thought I was going to do, you know? Like some kid was like, he's like, yeah, I'm gay, but nobody at the gym knows he's a fighter. He's an MMA fighter. And he said, because of the things I've seen you do, I'm going to talk to the gym and let them know, come out, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So doing this character, like what opportunities like have emerged from this?
Oh, crazy, man. Yeah. Like as soon as the article came out, I just got inundated. What?
Let's wait for this.
Oh, this point, yeah. Yeah, as soon as the Vice article came out, I got inundated with opportunities. And I mean, working on a book deal, working on a limited series based on my life. I mean, I did have movie offers, but because of the story I want to tell is so big that I don't think like a 2-3 hour movie would do it justice. I would like to see it as a limited series, 8 to 10 episodes. And we're working on that. Like I have a manager, I have a, pardon me.
Where would it start? Like you as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, these are all things we'll flesh out, but I don't know if the movie or the series would start as like an adult and have flashbacks and tell the story, or if we're just gonna start from square one to where I am now, because I do think like it's fucking crazy from beginning to end. You know, like that's why you're like, oh, you want like 2 hours? I'm like, dude, I could talk for fucking 8 hours.
No, you definitely could. Like,
yeah,
we could do another one.
Oh yeah.
You said in one of your posts that you had to learn how to tuck your dick back.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, how do you do that?
Well, not every outfit requires it, but some outfits, especially if I'm doing a drag show, it depends if I'm doing a photo shoot or a drag show, I feel like to do it correctly, I need to tuck my dick back so it looks, you know, feminine at the bottom, you know?
So just like a mangina?
Kinda, yes. So you shave everything and you pull the dick back, you pop your balls inside. Has one of your balls ever popped inside? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, so sometimes they like pop in by accident and shit. So what you want to do is like you put the dick kind of down and you separate the balls to the sides and then you push them in and then you pull the dick back. And then you start I use duct tape, but I've heard I've heard there's better things, but that's what I use.
Wow. Is there any other prep?
Oh, tons. I mean, depends like what is it going to be. You know, if it's going to be a photo shoot and it's going to be in high definition stuff, then I'm going to get my whole body waxed.
I guess like, yeah, you don't look like you have much leg hair. You keep that like it.
Well, no, that's because I recently did
I
recently did a performance. But I mean, I prefer just being natural.
Your face when you do it.
Yeah, and I really like having facial hair. That's like the part that bothers me the most. Like the first time I did it, I got waxed, and fuck, dude, like the first.
Face?
No, but I got like, my armpits were bleeding and I will never wax my armpits again. Like I'll fucking wax everything except for my armpits and then I'll shave the armpits. Yeah, and if I have time to plan it, I'd rather get waxed than shave. I hate shaving.
Wow, it just like, it hurt that bad, even for someone like you.
Just my skin gets all fucking irritated and then you get ingrown hairs. I get more ingrown hairs. And it's so fucking hard. Like, dude, everything women do to look good for men should be fucking grateful because it's fucking amazing. Even shaving your fucking legs, like getting every fucking angle, getting everything is fucking virtually impossible. It's insane. Like I have to have people fucking help me shave my asshole and shit, dude. Well, this last time.
Wait, who do you have? Your wife?
Yeah, I had my wife help shave my asshole the last time because what happened was I was gonna get it waxed. I had an appointment to get it waxed, and I woke up at 10 for an 11 o'clock appointment. I had a message at 8 o'clock that said they needed to reschedule my appointment. So I called them up and I go, what's going on? And they go, we don't have anybody at this location that does men bums. Yeah, the waxing on a men's bum. I go, okay, well, I made the appointment a few days ago, so that's really fucked up. And they go, well, we can get you in at like 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. I'm like, I need to be in LA tonight. Like, I'm making final custom preparations because a media thing was coming to film this performance the following day. And so I'm like, yeah, dude, this is really fucked up. I said, at first when she said, oh, we have to reschedule you, I thought she meant like time-wise something happened. I go, look, this takes 10 minutes. I've had it done before and it takes 10 minutes. And I've had it done at this location. So she's like, well, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. And I'm like, oh, well, that's fucked up. I was like, I'm not coming back to this place again. And she's like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm really not coming back to this place. So then I'm like talking to my wife and I'm like, fuck, dude, they canceled. And she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, she was like, she's been waxing my daughter's legs. So she's like, why don't I try it? And I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. I go, first of all, don't burn me. One time they did, it was a little hot and it kind of burned a little and it's like a real sensitive spot. And so she broke out, like, we have a heat gun and she was like checking it and we were pretty sure that wasn't gonna be hot enough. But even then I told her, don't do it right on the butthole. Like, go a little bit off to the side. Let's do a test strip. And if that doesn't work out, we're gonna call it quits. First thing I feel is like just hit the butthole. Like it's right, it goes like right on the fucking, and she goes like, oh shit, like it's really hard to control. You know, and I'm like, fuck. And she's like, okay, let it cool down. And then she's like, okay, I'm gonna pull it. And she couldn't get it off. Like she was digging with her nail and it was coming off in fucking chunks. And at one point, like my body just broke out in a sweat. Yeah. Like it was so intense. I was like, fuck. And then she finally gets it off, like in pieces, by the way. It didn't just like come right off. So, I mean, there is a true skill in that, you know, like money is worth spent in certain places, you know, don't try to half-ass shit. And actually, she tried to wax me. She didn't shave me. I fucking shaved. I'm like, you know what? Fuck, I'm going to go in the bathroom. That's it. I'm calling it quits on this fucking mission. We're not doing this ever again.
So your wife is okay with the drag stuff, but on one post, I remember you saying something like, you know, like, I'm only going to do it one more time because, like, the stress that it puts my family through or something. Is it hard on your family, you fighting?
Yes, fighting is, yeah, I didn't know if you were talking about drag or fighting. Fighting is very stressful on my fucking family.
Yeah.
Especially my wife. My kids are barely old enough where they're realizing how much is at stake. So when they were younger, I could fight, and they were never really worried because we didn't make a big deal out of it. Like, I don't sit down with them and be like, hey, in case I die, you know, like, you don't do that shit. But I'm like, could go fucking blind, really easy, you know? And so now it's like, I'm 42, like, you just have to give it up at some point, man. You could be known as the guy who's like fucking just didn't ride off into the sunset and got his ass beat until he was fucking, you know, fucking brain hemorrhaging or just now, you know. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that's just fucking out there. As much as I enjoy it, I love it. I could fucking do it. Like,
you said that, you know, you can't do math as well, and you're a different person. Do you think maybe if you hadn't been a fighter, you never would have decided to do drag because it maybe just made you, like, think of the world a little bit differently and made you feel freer to let that feminine side out in a public way?
Those questions are like so hard to answer, you know, because like maybe, who knows, you know. I've always been super creative. I've always been an artist. Whatever I do has always been in an artistic way. So I don't know if I ever would have got into drag if I wasn't a fighter first. It just turned out, I think it was the perfect combination. And, you know, like all the media attention that it's gotten me, like I have all these avenues of opportunities to express myself in different ways and keep selling more paintings. I got an art show coming up and, you know, working on that book deal,
So you started taking art pretty seriously, and you have a studio here in LA.
Correct.
And it seems like, I think a lot of your stuff is really great. And
Thank
it seems
you.
like you're selling a lot of work. Like how long did it take for you to like actually start like getting like commissions and stuff?
It's funny. Whatever I do, I go into it 1,000%. I think that's already like obvious from anything else we've discussed. So as soon as I made the decision that I was gonna be a full-time artist, I started pursuing it instantly. And I was working and then networking and trying to get my paintings places and exposing my paintings to people. And at first I would just sell them to friends. There was a time where I couldn't even give them away though. Like at the beginning where like somebody was like, oh, your paintings are pretty cool. And I go, yeah, you wanna have one? I was like, because I would paint so many that I would start drowning in them and it would depress me. Yeah. It was like, fuck, there's too many paintings. Like, if I don't get rid of them, I'm going to feel like I'm drowning in them. Like, I can't sell any. Yeah. So sometimes I'd be like, hey, man, can I give you one? And this guy was like, oh, I'm redecorating my apartment. I don't know if it's going to fit. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, and sure, it started with friends. And then I started doing small local shows in San Diego. And I just, you know, kept pumping my Instagram, you know, and selling. I have a very love-hate relationship with Instagram. First of all, they fucking hate me. I was shadow banned for a super long time, and sometimes it's still hard to find me on there.
Is it because you show like kind of like blood and like?
No, they don't give a shit about that, man. It's always like sexual shit. Like I would post things that were risque that didn't even violate the things, but I don't know if somebody reported me and then you get on a list and then the algorithm picks other things up. But I have gotten posts removed that I've seen other accounts have still on their thing. Like the same exact picture, like if I was reposting somebody else's work on their account, it's fine, but mine got instantly removed. And every time that happens, you get like a strike, and I get notices from Instagram, and they're like, hey, we're pretty close to deleting your account, you know? So like, I'm not allowed to run ads. Like I used to run ads, you know? I used to also have like a tattoo studio, and I would like run ads for the tattoo studio, and I would get all booked up every time I did. And if I wanted to sell a painting, I could put it in the ads, you know, and it would sell quicker. And pretty soon, like after some of those things happened, they were just like, yeah, I have no ability to promote.
That sucks.
Yeah. So if anybody knows anybody at Instagram, help me out, dude. Because it says like, I heard that if you get like the blue check mark, you get like a fresh start is what I heard. And it's like, I don't want to be famous. I don't want a clout, but I want to make a living selling art,
I feel
you
like
know?
we just keep like posting stuff that is in a violation, like eventually it wears off. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I try to do, but like sincerely, one time I posted something, I was like, Jesus Christ, seriously? And they took it down and I got another strike, and I had no fucking idea, man.
Yeah.
And it was a dude sideways, he had a firecracker. It was like the 4th of July, and he had a firecracker in his ass, and it shot out. But you're seeing it from the side, you're not seeing anything, you know? And it was like instantly pulled down, and you got a strike. And I was like, fuck, again.
Yeah.
And then your engagement goes super fucking low, you know?
Yeah, and you never know, like some people like can be like spiteful and just like fucking just not like you and report you, and like there's no way to like have an open dialogue.
That's very true, but for me, I think it's always the algorithm, the bots picking it up because it's so instant.
Yeah.
I put something up and it instantly gets taken down.
Yeah.
And then you get the warning. So I'm like, I don't even think there's time for people to report it, man. It's just like the robots out there.
TikTok? They're even more extreme.
Are they?
Yeah, they're worse than Instagram.
Yeah.
I tried to put my shit on TikTok and it just wasn't working out because they would just constantly just like I would get something that would do really well and then the next thing like would get like no views because like it was like something sexual in nature.
Yeah.
So it was just
like I have a friend, he does a character, or I just met him honestly, but he seems like a cool, funny dude, and his things like Purple Pimp Willie or something like that. And on TikTok it has to be Purple Willie because they won't let the word pimp in there and stuff.
Yeah. I saw one post also on your Instagram where you're talking to this guy who said that he had lived on Skid Row for 20 years. And do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Some old guy.
Yeah.
I was like, I would love to interview that guy. If you could like send me his info.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'll try to get it for you. Yeah, I'm trying to like get him in the studio so I can do a painting of him.
Yeah. I watched that video. Like he's got some really cool like old faded tattoos.
Oh, dude, his stories were insane.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if you caught it in the video, but he tattooed his dick.
That's what he said.
He tattooed your name on his dick, and he would play that game, which I've always heard that joke, but he's the real one.
That's cool.
So he would go up to somebody at a bar and you'd joke around and be like, I bet you I got your name tattooed on my dick, you know, or you're buying drinks, and then he would pull his dick out. Yeah.
Let's see what else we got before we wrap. So like you said, one thing you said in another post is, life is hard, but so am I. Like, what made you hard, would you say? 'Cause it seems like you had a hard kind of attitude.
I had a hard life, you know, from the very start, you know, like there's a lot of things we didn't get into, you know, that are really deep and terrible things and shit like that. But I don't know. I think maybe I'm just blessed. I hate the word blessed. I hate that word. You know, I'm not religious and I hate the word blessed, but like, I don't know how I might just be blessed with having an attitude that I could just bounce back. You know?
Like with fighting, like you knew that it was like a hard road and like you weren't going to make a lot of money doing it. Like, what is the motivation there? Like, what are you trying to prove? I
mean, as an adult, I definitely like try to add to what I already have naturally, which I think is the spirit of not giving up, you know, and I try to add to that with the stoicism and all that stuff. But fighting for me was just fun because like I said, I don't know, I hate the word adrenaline junkie, but the way I was raised, or if it was in me since I was born, but I like a challenge. And like, I have not been in a street fight in like fucking 20 years or some shit like that. And that doesn't even appeal to me because I don't want to fight somebody that I can beat up. Like, I want to fight somebody that I think might beat me.
Right.
That's where the thrill is, you know? I like getting a little scared, and it's hard for me to get scared.
Right.
So that's why I do extreme shit, because like I don't really, have you seen that movie, Free Solo?
Yeah.
With the guy that they did an MRI and they said the part of the brain that experiences fear is smaller on him than regular people. If somebody did that study on me, I would really not be surprised if I have something of that. I don't know if that's connected because I think he has Asperger's and is probably on the autistic scale or something like that. I definitely don't have Asperger's or am anywhere on that scale. But I definitely think like I don't feel fear like normal people.
Right. And you think that's nature, not nurture?
It might be, because I just have been a risk taker from very early on. Yeah. And it's just like my brain just is like, okay, it's okay to die, you know, people die. You're going to die. Everybody's going to fucking die, but not everybody fucking lives, you know? And I want to fucking live, you know?
Talk about how like the drag is like, you said it's something like it's just an exercise in like vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like, the first time you did it, was it really nerve-wracking?
No.
No.
Because I don't get nervous.
Yeah.
It's like I'm dumb.
Do
It's
you
like
not get nervous before a fight?
I don't get nervous before a fight.
Wow.
It's I not like normal people. Maybe I've learned to interpret it as excitement.
Right.
And I'm like, ooh, I'm getting excited.
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
what I want to do. I signed up for this. I knew a guy who told me he wouldn't sleep. He was on the UFC. He was in the UFC. He told me he wouldn't sleep 2 weeks before a fight.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you even doing this?
Yeah.
You know? And I
How
get
can you perform well, too?
yeah. Well, he didn't win a lot of fights, but honestly, I give him all the credit in the world because that even says something too, to be fucking terrified and not sleep and still show up and do the job. You know?
Yeah.
It's amazing, but not me. I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, you know, like I'm like, yeah, fuck, let's do this.
Well, like it's the same thing. Like that anxiety can be interpreted as excitement. It's just your mentality towards the heart rate, and you know, it's a physiological thing you're experiencing. It's how you flip it in your mind.
I like saying perspective. It's everything's perspective. The perspective you put on it. Nothing's good or bad. Everything's neutral. It's whatever you assign to it. Mm-hmm. If you assign a negative thing, you know, like, oh fuck, my car got towed. If it's negative, if you assign a negative feeling to it, but it can be neutral if you choose. It happened. Yeah. There's nothing I can do. Now I think of the best solution, but it doesn't have to even make me have an emotional response, you know? Where most people are like, fuck, Jesus Christ, my car got fucking kick a dog, you know? Like, it just, to me, it didn't change anything. It didn't solve any of the problem.
Well, you say you're going to quit fighting and you're just going to only do, you know, your performance art and the art. But I have a feeling that that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to find another thing.
Well, who knows, you know, like, but that's the thing, like, performance art can go far. Maybe I don't know what level I'm going to take it to yet or what else I'm going to do with it, you know. I'll continue to do jiu-jitsu. It's, you know, like boxing's really bad for your eyes and your brain, but jiu-jitsu, it's really bad for your joints, you know. So it's like, I'm going to choose to just be fucking crippled, I guess. And I'm going to keep doing jiu-jitsu and probably until the day I absolutely cannot do it. And
There's
I still,
like really old guys doing it?
Yeah, they have like jiu-jitsu tournaments for like masters, seniors. You know, like they have every 5 years they have a bracket.
Would you compete?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got banned from one of the biggest tournaments in the world. I was really committed to being a world champion in jiu-jitsu, and at this time I had retired from fighting. And I was like, the only thing I was doing was jiu-jitsu, you know, to sow my oats, my craziness. And I told everybody in my life, for the next 3 months, I'm going to dedicate myself to this tournament 100%. Everybody at work, my family, my friends, I'm just not going to be present. That's what I'm doing. Everybody's cool. They get it. They know me, you know. I trained so hard for that tournament. Like 2 weeks before the tournament, I broke a rib. And I was like, fuck, this hurts so bad. And I had known from previous, I like to experiment with all kinds of things. I know that I can take a few shots and still perform really good at jiu-jitsu. So my whole plan was, I tried to continue training and it just kept getting worse and worse. And the pain was getting so insane that it was like to a level where I could barely move. And I was like, okay, I need to stop. I can't keep training. That was like maybe 5 days. I'm just going to rest, you know, I'm going to lose some cardio, but at least the rib will be a tiny bit better. I show up to the tournament, I take a coconut water, I dump all the water. I think it was a liter. I dump all the coconut water out and I fill it with Tito's vodka. And haven't eaten a damn, like completely, you know, make weight fucking on an empty stomach, 2 shots of vodka. Destroy the first guy.
Wow.
Come back, 2 shots of vodka. Destroy the second guy. Third shot, the third match, I get into it with a dude, and I get this move called the Kimura, and you're always supposed to tap on your opponent. Well, he was tapping on the ground, and the referee was watching here, so none of us saw the tap, and I just snapped his arm. Like in a fucking like really ridiculous.
Why did he tap you?
He just wasn't thinking, or I don't know, fucking freaked out. He was just hitting the fucking mat, and everything's so exciting. Nobody saw it, nobody felt it, you know?
It doesn't happen often.
It doesn't happen very often. I've seen more broken arms in arm wrestling, but that's for another story. So I fucking snap his arm, and it was like ridiculous. Like it just sounded like you broke a bunch of carrots, and I felt it come apart. Like it was, and I was like, fuck, and I'm drunk already. Yeah. So I get up and I'm cussing. I'm like, fuck. I was like, fuck, dude. And I was kind of mad at the fucking ref too, because I'm kind of looking. I'm like, I could tell, you know. I'm like, this guy's not fucking tapping. Like, are you gonna stop this shit? And the guy's just looking, and we both watch it fucking snap, you know. So I'm cussing. I'm a little bit drunk. He's fucking upset that I'm cussing. Like I think he gave me a warning because a lot of them are Brazilians. The refs, they come from this particular tournament. They're a lot of actual native Brazilians, and I don't know if he even speaks English. And he was just like saying in Portuguese, like stop cussing and all this shit. So he already had a bad taste in his mouth about me. So I get the next match, and the next fucking match was a lot closer. And the guy, I think, was actually beating me on points. And right before time ran out, I tapped him out. And so we stop and we stand up. Usually the referee stands like this. He holds both your hands. And he raised the other guy's hand. And I looked at the other guy and go, hey, I just fucking tapped you. I just fucking tapped you. And the guy goes, yeah, you did, like that in front of everybody. And the ref kind of looked at me and he went like this. And he was already like just super fucking upset. And I could tell, you know, he was like saying things in Portuguese and shit. I was like, fuck, all right. So now it's like the semifinals. And I go against a fucking dude from another school that's like super tough. But this dude was more of a wrestler than a jiu-jitsu guy. And we couldn't get the takedown. We were going 0-0 and we were just going bow, bow, fucking butting heads. And it was 0-0 and the time was running out and he's trying and I'm trying and we're just fucking like really evenly matched, right? So I get a fucking takedown and it's pretty close to the mat, but he kind of started running backwards and he had kind of done that a couple times. So we ran off the mat a little bit and I go, fucking, I've been taking 2 shots every match. So by now I'm fucked up. And so I finished the takedown and we ended up like off the mat inside, like there's a divider there between the crowd and shit. And he fucking like stands up and he gets mad. He goes, fuck, like this. And I just reacted. I fucking pushed him and he flew over the divider and he was like inside the crowd. And then the fucking referee starts doing this shit. Yeah. But also like he had kind of slapped me a couple times. Like it was getting really rough, but definitely like the referee was on his side, right. You know? So the referee starts doing this and I'm like looking around and I look at my coach. I go, what happened? He goes, oh, you got DQ'd. And without thinking, I just look at him and go, fuck you, like that. Nobody does that. No, I have never, ever been to a jiu-jitsu tournament and seen somebody take it out on the ref. It's martial arts. It's very respectful. I've never seen that. Fuck. I just look at the ref like, fuck you, like that. The whole crowd starts booing.
Oh, really?
The whole fucking crowd. Boo, boo. I turn around real slow. I just look at the whole fucking crowd, like flip the whole fucking crowd off. And people start throwing fucking water bottles and shit. And fucking like a dude comes from the association and grabs me and shit. He's like, get your shit, you're fucking getting out of here. And he goes, you're banned for life. You're never allowed at IBJJF tournament ever again. And they fucking escorted me off the fucking premises and shit. And my team's like, oh shit, we're gonna fucking fight. Because the whole fucking crowd was like booing and throwing fucking water bottles and shit. And I was just like, fuck, I got taken out and shit. And like, fuck dude, that tournament was mine, man.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, is this shit still plugged in when I turned around?
It's so good, I can still
yeah.
see it. You also said being a process server was one of the craziest jobs you ever had.
Yeah.
Like, just talk about that.
Okay. So I dropped out of college to become a professional fighter. I had no plan B. Right. At one point, after one of my eye surgeries, I had to get a job. I had to retire for a while. I was like, I'm not making any money fighting. I'm almost blind. The opportunities are not there. I had just watched the movie Pineapple Express.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And coincidentally, I was Googling occupations that had real flexible schedules because I wanted to still train a lot. You know, it was still my passion was just fighting. So I just wanted to go to the gym and be active. And process server came up on that list. And so I fucking started digging around and it's like the job that time forgot. It's fucking insane. You don't need nothing in California to be a process server other than to pass the fucking... I had my felony reduced to a misdemeanor and expunged a long time ago. So other than passing the background check, you don't need nothing to be a process server. You just apply for the license, you pass, they give it to you. No test. If you want to be a security guard, you got to go to a fucking 8-hour class, pass a fucking test. It's fucking insane. You need to know so many laws to serve papers. It's fucking stupid. I don't know how that works. So I did all this research. It's kind of like a word of mouth career. So I really wanted to get into it. I got more and more intrigued. And I went to all these offices and nobody wanted to talk to me about it. I was offering to like buy people lunch, or their gas for the day if they took me out.
Money?
The what?
Does it make decent money?
You can if you work really fucking hard.
Yeah.
It's like you got to be self-motivated and you got to make your own schedule. But I thought it was like, oh, I'm going to get to train whenever I want. Fuck no. If you want to make a living, you have to work fucking hard. That's a hard-ass job. And so this old-timer was like, hey, sure, I'll take this fucking kid out. And he was like a Vietnam vet and shit, real crafty, like been doing it for a long time. I don't know what he did in a prior life, but he had retired and this was like how he kept busy and made money, But he was like an old-timer, but like real fucking serious. Like he carries a shotgun in the trunk and he'll pop it out anytime. Like if you're fucking, anything's gonna go down, hey, what's going on? Like really fucking cool old-timer. So he takes me out, shows me the ropes. I fucking love it because at this time the doctor said after my eye surgery I couldn't do any physical sports for 2 years. So even though I wanted to train, I'll tell you some other day, but that's how I got into arm wrestling, the world of arm wrestling, because it was a contact sport where there was no physical contact to the face. But I got into it, and he taught me all the ropes, and next thing I knew, I was fucking serving papers like full time, all the time, fucking making a living. That's the most money I ever made in my life.
Really?
Yeah. But I was working my ass off.
And like when you encounter these people, what are the interactions like?
Well, 98% of people are fucking furious.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with how you get kind of tricked into taking the papers. It's like I told you earlier when I got served the first time, I was at the motorcycle shop and somebody kind of tricked me into taking the paper. That feeling, it's like really fucking upsetting, like you don't know what's going on, you're confused.
How did they trick you?
Well, it's like he doesn't go, hey, I'm so-and-so with legal papers. He goes, hey, what's up? Is Mike here, the owner? No, Mike's not here. It's just me. You work here? Yeah, I work here. And he's like, are you 18? I look kind of young. He's like, yeah, I'm 18. He goes, okay, cool. You've been served. Like that. And I was like, fuck, man. Like you feel like you got tricked, into it, and you learn all these fucking tricks. And
you use tricks like that?
Oh, I used everything, man. I would dress up because you got to understand, I'm fucking insane. Like I was a professional fighter. The only way I can get entertainment now was through serving these papers. So I took it to the umpteenth degree, and then I would only get calls for the craziest fucking papers.
Like what?
Like I served Mick Fleetwood on stage.
What?
Yeah. I ruined the concert. Yeah.
From Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah.
Can you say that? From Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah, I served Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac on stage. It was the Mick Fleetwood experience. But
wait, what happened? Like what? It was between songs?
No, well, okay. First of all, everybody there is fucking 65, and I got called last moment. Like the show starts at 7, it was 5. Like I would usually come up with a better plan, but they were like, "Sorry, we just found out right now. We got you 2 tickets." So I fucking haul ass over there. I get first in line. As soon as the door opens, I go right to the front of the stage. There's a divider, and there's the stage right here, right? And there's maybe 1 or 2 opening bands, 1 I think. And they come out, they play, fuck whatever. Then fucking they go. Then fucking Mick Fleetwood comes out with the Mick Fleetwood experience. He's a drummer, so he's in the back. They're fucking playing. It's 9 o'clock. Stops the show, comes to the front. Fuck, it could be over. Fucking crowd was like 65, 70 plus, maybe that's a little quick show and they go home, So I go, fuck, this is my chance. So I jump over the fucking divider. I go, Mick, and he looks down. I throw the papers on his feet. I go, you've been served. Like that, right then the fucking bouncers jump me because they don't fucking know. They can't hear. They don't know what I did. Yeah. I could have thrown fucking anthrax on them. Yeah. They fucking jump on me, man. They fuck me up. They dragging me outside. I had a little badge. I pull out my badge. I'm like, I'm a process server. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck's going on? Yeah, fuck, I had to serve him papers. And fucking Mick's fucking manager like fucking comes out and shit.
Do you know what it was for?
Yeah, it wasn't for him. It wasn't anything he did. Somebody he knew was getting sued and he had to testify.
Got it.
So it was nothing that he did. They just needed him to
You
testify.
know what you're serving them for every time?
Yeah, to a certain extent, you're not supposed to look through the papers, you know.
What other good ones? You would dress up?
Oh yeah, I would like dress up in costumes all the time and
What?
shit. A UPS guy. I had a brother that worked at UPS, so he gave me. But I fucking whatever I needed, you know, like I would just make it fucking happen. I was really fucking good. I was really good at serving papers.
What's another like story where it was just kind of an elaborate thing?
Dude, let's save it for next time.
Wait, we got to knock out process servers.
All right.
We're gonna do 2 posts on process.
Because process serving is so good, dude.
Yeah, it's really
So good. All right.
This will be the last thing, though.
Okay, I'll tell you a really fucking good one.
Okay.
Okay. So the guy that introduced me to serving papers, right? Old timer. The way it works, once you get hired somewhere, you're a private contractor, but they give you papers by zip code. Like they'll be like, you're in charge of this zip code, okay? So we never fight over papers, unless it was a special one that they wanted me to have because, like I said, I would take the extra credit ones. I get there and people are like literally drawing straws to see who's going to serve this paper. And I'm like, what's going on? And then they're like, you know, so-and-so, the guy that trained me, he has this paper. He's like 70 years old. Like everybody liked him. Nobody wanted him to go serve this paper. So I'm like, what is it? They're like, fuck. You just start reading it. They're like, this fucking dude, man, he's like 6 foot tall. He's 240 pounds. He's a black belt in karate. He's a power lifter, confirmed on steroids, multiple guns, on all the drugs, threatened to kill his wife and his son, and she wants to serve him a restraining order and divorce papers. And I'm like, fuck, okay, that's pretty bad. And I go, you know what, I'll take it. You know, like everybody's like, no, I'll do it, but like not like that. And they were like, you should do it, boo, 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 you should do it. You know, I was like, I'll fucking do it. All right. So I take the paper. Usually, as a rule of thumb, you don't want to go to nobody's house after 9 p.m. You're just going to be in a bad mood if a stranger shows up after 9. It's just like a rule of thumb. Everybody kept calling me, like, did you serve it yet? Did you serve it? Like, what's going on? You know, and I'm like, no, I haven't served it. I was like, his wife had just left him. I was like, if I was this guy, I would probably be out drinking. I said, he's probably going to fucking be out drinking. I'm actually going to wait. It might be a little more dangerous, but I'm going to wait to catch him on the way home. So I went to his house. It was pretty late. And surprisingly, he had 2 giant windows that were no curtains, and I could see right in. So I go, oh, fuck. This is great. If I see him come to the window, I know who he is. I can identify him. All I have to do is yell. As long as I'm comfortable that he heard me through the window, I can just drop the papers and leave. So I go, fine, here we go. So I start fucking inching forward, right? And as I'm getting closer, the first thing I notice is a table, the kitchen table, and it's got his son's toys all laid out. But in a very specific way that I think only an adult would do it. I don't think a child would ever set up the toys like that, almost like a chessboard. And I thought, fuck, this guy killed himself already. Because I had read an article where sometimes when people commit suicide, they leave out belongings of a loved one to just kind of like let them know I was thinking of you right before I died, you know? So I go, fuck, this guy might fucking kill himself already. And I'm like creeping forward, but at the same time, I'm being super fucking careful because I go, if he fucking comes out the side of the house and sees me, he fucking shoot me, you know? And there's a stranger in my house, I fucking shot him, you know? So I'm fucking like being super conscious and I'm looking, and what I'm not doing is looking like straight fucking down. Yeah. And what happened was I fell into a fucking koi pond right in front of his fucking house, dude, and just covered in fucking mud, like to my waist, dude. Like almost tore my fucking groin apart because one leg went right, and I fucking make this huge splash, dude, and I jump out of the fucking koi pond, and I fucking run back to the car, and I'm just dragging mud everywhere. Like, you see all the lights turn on in the neighborhood. And fucking, like, I'm in the fucking car, and I'm like, oh my God, what's gonna happen and shit. I go, fuck, maybe if he comes out, I could still serve him and shit. And when the neighbor comes out, he says, what's going on? I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I'm here for my friend so-and-so. They send me to check on him. And I go, oh, God, thank God. Are you here for the dog? I go, no, my other buddy's picking up the dog. What happened? And then they're like, oh, you didn't hear? He's at the hospital. He tried to kill himself. I'm like, fuck. So I call the fucking wife, and I'm like, hey, this guy tried to kill himself, you know, like, what do you want me to do? Serve him the paper. I'm like, are you fucking insane? It's me and my son. What do you want me to do? All right. I'll put you on the family visitors list. He's in the ICU. Tomorrow they'll take him down to whatever is beneath the ICU, you know. So just fucking wait. They're going to fucking put him into this other room, urgent care, I don't know. And so she put me on the visitor list as a family member and fucking show up, and I get like a little fucking balloon, and I'm all fucking dressed casual and shit. And I go, I check in. Sure enough, I'm on the fucking list, and the lady starts taking me back there. I don't know what happened, but the nurse kind of picked up on something. And she goes, you're here to serve him that paper. And right as she said that, the dude's mom was right outside his room, and she goes, the paper! The fucking paper! That's why he tried to kill himself! And she's like spitting on me. And I'm like walking, I'm like, oh shit. And I walk into the fucking room, and the dude is fucking massive. He's like a fucking powerlifter, just yoked on fucking steroids. And he's like literally tied down to the gurney. And he just looks up and sees me. And he's like incoherent, but he's just like, ah! And he starts shaking the fucking gurney. And I just said his name, I'm like, so-and-so, boo-boo, I'm sorry, you've been served. And I threw the fucking papers on his fucking, you know, stomach. And the mom's like spitting on me. And I just fucking like push her out of the way and I run out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I just like call her up and I'm like, yeah, he's been served. And she's like, oh, thank God. And I'm like, fuck this job.
Can you just describe what a process server is to someone who has never heard of it before?
Yeah, and because I've been interviewed in a lot of different countries, so not every country has that too.
Oh, really?
So basically, it's like, it could be many things. You're getting sued, or you just need to get a notice, or you need to testify for something, child support. A lot of it's credit cards. People don't pay their credit cards, and then they get sued for the debt by a third party. But what it is they need to know that you got notified to go to court. And it's different in every state. But in California, I have to give you, we cannot mail this paper. We have to give it to you. That's the only way. If you don't show up to court, we could say it's his fault. We notified him. He knows 100% and he didn't come. So a process server gives you the paper. You don't have to fucking hold it. You don't have to grab it. You don't even have to admit your name or anything. Like if I have a picture of you and I know it's you, I just go, hey man, you've been served. Boom, it's done. You know, walk away.
Is there one other good story? You have those two, which are pretty incredible. Process server, just like a third, just so we can round it out.
All right. So
I love the fact that you dress up in costumes.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
So okay. So I got this paper, and it was at an Asian real estate office. Okay. I lived in like an Asian part of town. They had like a lot of like Asian restaurants, and it was really close to my house, and it was really close to my kid's school. I'm sure I had a really good reason. I can't remember why. Okay, no. I went there one time, and it was almost empty. And there was one guy, and I was looking for this guy. And the guy was like, nah, he doesn't work here anymore. And I go, oh, he used to work here. It was like, yeah, but he doesn't work here anymore. And I just from years of experience, I caught something. Like just a twinkle that he was fucking lying. And I kept pressing him. And he goes, oh, fuck. You know what, can we start over? Because I just remembered. Okay. All right, so I lived in the Asian part of town. And there was this paper, and it was at an Asian real estate office. Okay, and it was very close to my house, and you know, there's a lot of like Asian restaurants there. It's just like an Asian community. And I show up, and I'm looking for this person, and there was only like one person in there. And he's like, no, I never heard of him. I never heard of him. Boop, 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 boop. But he was being very dismissive and like trying to get me to leave, you know? And I don't know why. Like I just caught a twinkle that something was wrong. Like, you know, like just years of doing it, like you get the experience. And I kept pressing him. And finally he goes, he doesn't work here anymore. I go, oh, he did work here. He goes, yes, but he doesn't work here anymore. So he goes, just get out. I'm asking you to leave. I go, all right. So I leave, and I do a little more research. And then he's still listed as one of the real estate agents on the website, but there's no picture of him. But there is his phone number, right? So one time I'm driving past it because it was very close to my house, and I had just picked up my kids. And so I'm driving past it, and I look, and it's full of people, all Asian people. And I believe it was a Chinese real estate office. I go, fuck, he's probably there. You know, it's so full of people. So I pull in, and I pull into a spot. It's a big glass window, and I pull like right in like this, and I could see my kids in the car. They're safe, you know. And I go, all right, kids, I'm gonna just go in real quick and check to see if this guy's in there, okay? So like I walk in real quick, and it's just like, I believe everybody's speaking like, you know, Mandarin or whatever it is, and like they're just, everybody's like, the whole office is bustling in this language, and nobody's speaking English, and nobody's like, it's so busy they're not even what's the word, saying that I'm there. Like they're not acknowledging me. So I dial the phone number that I got from the website on my cell phone, you know, and I hear a cell phone ringing. And I start trying to follow the ring, and I walk over, and it's the guy they had kicked me out of the office like a few days ago, you know? And then he's at his desk, and I walk up, and he looks up, and he sees me, and he goes, "This is not my phone. This is not my phone." And he throws the phone down. And I go, "Dude, I don't give a fuck." And then I throw the papers, and I go, "You've been served." And then he stands up, and he puts his hands in the air, and I'm walking, and he goes, "I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him." I go, "You don't have to touch him. You've been served." And like the whole office is so busy, it's still almost bustling without a regard. Real loud, he looks at me and goes, "Fuck you." Like that, and the whole office turned and looked now. And I was like, "Have a nice day." And then I just get in the car, and I fucking jump in, and I'm like driving off. And my kids were like this, right? They were like, can see inside the window, and they were glued to it the whole time. And they're fucking, "Oh my God, Dad, that's fucking crazy." And one of them goes, "Dad, are all Chinese people bad?" I go, "Where the fuck did you get that idea?" "Mulan." I go, "Yeah, but even the good people in Mulan are Chinese too." And I go, "Oh, okay." And I explained it to them, you know? But then I realized like, oh fuck, I never hung up my phone. And the message was like, it had gone to his answering machine, and that message is still on his fucking phone, dude. That means that he got home and he checked his messages, and he heard the whole fucking thing from beginning to end on his fucking phone.
That's so good. Including your daughter saying our Chinese people.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And then the last thing we need is, we started off with you talking about your eye.
Yeah.
I'd like you to put the glasses on just as a descriptor.
All right.
So I wear these.
Yeah, that makes sense. So these are my special glasses that I invented. And I do have some fancy ones that are actually like a real prescription with a transition lens on this side. But my prescription's so bad that when I take them off, it takes a long time for my vision to readjust. Right. So these are my favorite. If I'm indoors and I don't need them, sometimes I need them indoors if there's a really bright light. But right now? Yeah, these are a little bit, but I'm managing. So if I do need glasses, these are my favorite. They're a pair of Ray-Bans, and I just popped out a lens. And this, especially with like the fucking pandemic, this has been the best, because like even if I have to wear a mask, this one never fogs up, you know. And it's just like, shit, man. I'm legally blind in this eye. This one's not perfect, but it's not bad. The last thing I want to do is go outside with two lenses. It's like I can barely see. I feel like I'm losing so much visibility.
Yeah. And then you said that David Bowie had it too, but
yeah,
off camera you described like his eye.
Yeah, if you look at David Bowie, it looks like he has a brown eye and a blue eye. And the reason is because when he was a little kid, his fucking best friend punched him in the head and I guess fucked up his eye. And so he's got the same thing. His pupil doesn't contract or dilate. So the pupil is dark, right? And it's super open. So it looks like he has a brown eye and a blue eye. And then just like people think it's a fashion thing, which gets kind of fucking old and I have to explain it all the time.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, and then like one time I was like hiking and I was coming down a mountain and shit, and a dude's coming up a mountain, a stranger, and he just out of the blue goes, "Arr, you pirate." I go, "Fuck you, I'm blind in one eye, asshole." And he goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And I go, "I'm fine, I don't give a shit."
You thought about like actually having an eye patch? I guess that's better because you can still kind of use your.
No, I still use it. Like I could still see. It's legally blind, but I could see fucking shapes, you know? It's like, it's better than, I still have perception because of it. Like if we lose this eye, the perception's gonna change a lot.
Your eye, because the pupil's constantly dilated, it doesn't adjust?
Correct. Yeah. So the pupil, when I got that injury, a nerve got pinched, and now the pupil, for those that don't know, the pupil is what controls how much light goes into the eyeball. If you're outside, the pupil gets small, so less light goes into the eyeball. If you're in a dark room, it gets bigger, so more light gets into the eyeball. So mine's stuck open. So I go outside and all this fucking light goes in my eye that I don't want in there, you know, and it's like...
Well, you just did a whole interview with 2 lights directly in your face.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
I sat in that seat. It's bright for me with normal eyes, you know.
It's uncomfortable, but I can tough anything out, you know, like that's my personality. I walked on a broken leg for 3 days, you know, like...
All right, that was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I need to get you back in so I could hear the arm wrestling story.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've heard of people breaking their arms arm wrestling